Deloney.
D-E-L-O.
Yes.
Louis 611.
Okay. .606 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Good morning, everybody. Brian here with you. Jake producing. We call it Mornings with Brian Haldane. Off and running on this busy Tuesday morning. Busier than normal Tuesday morning. I mean, we got a guest list that's a mile long today. Get to all that in a second. Want to start off by... I guess I am getting to the guest list. I want to start off by giving you the rundown. We are looking at, nope, don't have it yet. Confirmation. I'm looking for confirmation from CBS about getting a reporter on from Russia this morning, from one of their correspondents being stationed in Russia, not a Russian reporter. That would be, I wouldn't understand them. But a CBS correspondent in Russia this morning to get you started off at 6:35. I haven't heard confirmation back on that. I know they're working on it, but hopefully we can be brought up to speed as to where we are right now, as this is looking more and more imminent that Russia is going to invade Ukraine in the coming days, if they have not already. Angela Decoteau is with Live to Lead. What is Live to Lead? Bet you'd like to know. It's actually a conference coming up that could be an absolute game changer for you. Angela will be in studio at 6:52 this morning. Senator Bill Cassidy going to be in studio 7:05. We're going to have the senator on from 7:05 to 7:15. We're going to talk energy policy. We're going to talk risk rating 2.0. We're going to talk about getting back to kids back in the classrooms all over the place. And probably going to pick his brain a little bit about Russia and Ukraine as well. The senator's office put out a statement last night. We'll dive into that in a minute. John Bissell is the co-CEO of Origin Materials. Who is Origin Materials? I love this. This one I find very intriguing. Origin Materials is building a $750 million sustainable materials facility in Ascension Parish. Baton Rouge Area Chamber made the announcement, I believe it was, last week, like last Wednesday or whatever. They're a carbon-negative materials company committed to leading the global transition to sustainable materials, announcing plans to invest at least $750 million to develop a biomass manufacturing facility in Ascension Parish that will result in, this is the fun part, 1,057 new direct and indirect jobs. The plants could be in Geismar, going to use sustainable wood residue sourced partly from Louisiana's timber mills and managed forests to produce plant-based polyethylene there's like 4 consonants in a row. PHTH. terephthalate, used in packaging, textiles, apparel, and other applications. We are going to have John Bissell on at 7:35 to talk about, I got a little reversal on my arrows here. John Deloney from Dave Ramsey's team is going to join us at 7:15. What's John Deloney got to talk about? Well, happy to talk about that as well. John Deloney on Dave Ramsey's team has written a new book called Own Your Past, Change Your Future. That's what we're talking about there. Now, in the 8 o'clock hour, House Speaker Clay Shexnayder set to join us at 8:15. In the 8 o'clock hour, we will get a recap on the redistricting session from the House Speaker. Now, I'm fully aware that the Speaker has an upcoming special committee on the governor's involvement in Ronald Green's death. Might get him to lay out a timeline, but I'm not going to press him for any kind of details about a committee that's yet to meet. So we'll get a timeline out of him as to when they expect to get together, because they said they were pushing that back till after the special session. That's at 8:15, and then we'll round things out with D.C. Current with Congressman Troy Carter at 8:35. Right now, though, let's go back up to the top of the page. Let's go back up to, almost the top of the page. And the situation in Russia, in Ukraine, I guess is technically where the situation's at. Senator Bill Cassidy has put out a statement, and I'm sure there will be many, many to follow from every elected official out there as we get closer and closer to what looks like it's going to be a full-on war. Senator Cassidy's statement, if I get my computer to refresh. Why don't I just go to my phone? There it is. Senator Cassidy's statement says, it's frustrating. Almost there, y'all, I promise. I see the little grayed out backgrounds. It's just a matter of time before it puts print on top of them. Senator Cassidy's statement says, Russia invading Ukraine violates every international norm. It firmly establishes Putin as an enemy of freedom, not just in his country, but elsewhere in the world as well. The United States has many options at its command. It is time we use these options to support Ukraine. Strong but vague, yes. At this point, that's kind of what we should all expect. Strong but vague. But what are a few of those options, and what should we actually be looking at here? And how troubling is it to see Russia on the aggressive end? We will ask the senator all these questions at 7:05, right after we get into the CBS World News Roundup. Right now, we're coming up on our first break of the show. When we come back, let's talk a little LSU sports. Oh, we got a lot of ground to cover. Not just LSU sports, but sports in general. That's coming your way next, right here on Talk 107.3 FM. Did you tell me who my first live was? Who was it? Oh, yeah, okay. Yep. Okay.
Take a deeper dive into the stories that are important to you with a Fox News Rundown. Weekday mornings at 9 on Talk 107.3, the new flavor of talk.
.615 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. So a bit of a dust up at the end of the Michigan-Wisconsin basketball game over the weekend. And Michigan's head coach, Juwan Howard, threw a punch-ish. There's been no shortage of folks sounding off on this. And, well, yesterday Jay Billis was on the college basketball analyst Jay Billis was on the Rich Eisen show. And in the wake of Juwan Howard throwing a punch, Billis said, blame both guys right here.
I don't believe that there's no culpability. Like there's no reason to stop someone that won't shake your hand. Let them go by. These can be tense situations. I am not saying that Greg Gard is anywhere near as culpable as Juwan Howard. That's why I was saying different levels of culpability. But nobody's blameless. And the one thing I would ask of both coaches, and I would have asked if I were a reporter in the press conference, is are you proud of your words and actions in that moment? And if the answer was anything other than no, that would be revelatory to me.
No. Coach Gard was trying to explain what was going on, allegedly. I didn't hear the actual audio from inside it. But if Coach Gard is trying to explain why he called timeout with a 14-point lead and 15 seconds left, and Juwan Howard was having none of it, that you just don't throw a punch. But he physically put his hand on him. Huge difference. Huge difference here. And I want to rewind to the part about calling a timeout in a game with 15 seconds to go and you're up 14. Have we explored why he called timeout to begin with? Well, the way it played out during the game was couldn't break the press. Didn't want to get a 10-second violation, so he called timeout. The immediate response to that is, who cares? There's 15 seconds left. There is no 14-point play in the book. So get your 10-second violation, turn the ball back over again, and you win by 12 instead of 14. No big whoop, right? I don't know about that. Wouldn't the question also be, why are you pressing down 14 with 15 seconds to go? Why should the person in the lead in the game, why should the person in command and control of the game be the one to call off the dogs first? You say mercy and it's over with. You call off your dogs, he'll call off his. But if you're still pressing with 15 seconds to go and you expect the other guy to stop playing first, no, I can't get down with that either. 5-game suspensions, what it comes down to be for Juwan Howard. So that's going to be problematic for Michigan, to say the least, but they're not looking to be nearly as good as they were last year. While we're talking college basketball, let's refocus on LSU. Late tip-off tomorrow night for the Tigers. LSU men will be on the road at Kentucky. Late tip-off tomorrow night for the Tigers. 8 p.m. is your start time. Pre-game will begin. I say tomorrow night. Today's the 22nd. Yes, tomorrow's the 23rd. 8 p.m. At Kentucky. Pre-game will begin at 7:30 on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. Chris Blair and John Brady will be on the call. LSU men's basketball stands at 500 right now, or 7-7 in conference. Still very much in the mix for the tournament, but they need to get a couple of wins here. After Kentucky, they'll host Missouri this coming Saturday, then hit the road for Arkansas on March 2nd. And then I believe they've got one more home game after that. I want to say Alabama at home to round out the regular season schedule before heading to the SEC tournament on March 9th. So, last four starts tomorrow night at Kentucky, 8 p.m. tip-off. Quick break. We're going to check the Fox Business Report. after the Fox Business Report, we've heard so many stories about supply chain issues. Well, now one of them's hitting BRPD as well. We'll dive into that next on Talk 107.3. Oh, good. We have Pam Falk. And she will be calling us at 6:40. Where the shit is she at? Mm.
Whether you're headed to work, school, or to see the Tigers play, your best option for everything from a hot lunch to knocking out the entire grocery list is Mathers on Nicholson across the Tigers Stadium. Family special, great local brands, and convenient parking on Skip Third Drive. Mathers Market, not just for students.
It's the amazing, fun, exceptionally amazing. The amazing half marathon. 5K and family fun run.
Join Our Lady of the Lake Children's Health for their annual Amazing Half Marathon, 5K and Family Fun Run, Saturday, March 12th. The fun begins at 7 a.m. in downtown Baton Rouge.
The amazing half marathon. Did I mention it's amazing?
Brought to you by Our Lady of the Lake Children's Health.
Register today at amazinghalf.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Ruben Patel, Patient Plus Urgent Care, and I'm excited to announce the opening of our newest location, Patient Plus Proven, on Oak Plaza Boulevard near Walmart. We're here 7 days a week, 9 to 9. Patient Plus Urgent Care. Get in, get better.
Did you know that doctors use Mucinex? That's right. Mucinex is the #1 OTC brand doctors trust for themselves and their families. When you have cough and chest congestion, you need a medicine that's effective and long-lasting. So with cold and flu season upon us, why would you use anything else? Mucinex 12-hour DM extended release bilayer tablets allow for immediate and extended release, relieving cough and chest congestion for 12 hours. Grab Mucinex and put yourself back in control. Use as directed.
The secret to staying on track with your goals? HelloFresh. Their delicious recipes and doorstep delivery take the hassle out of mealtime, and their Fit and Wholesome plan makes eating well easier than ever. With HelloFresh, you can take your pick from 50 menu and market items each week, and even customize your box by swapping in proteins and sides that work for you. Right now, get an exclusive offer during HelloFresh's President's Day sale. Get 16 free meals plus 3 free gifts with code radio16 at hellofresh.com/radio16.
Now, your WBRZ traffic update from Ashley Fouché.
Currently no crashes or breakdowns to report. It looks fine around the 10-12 split. A couple more cars I'm noticing hitting the roadways of the ramp from 12 west to 10 east. But the map behind me still remaining green. 7 minutes of Woodward LA1, not so bad. And then again, now we've got yellow on the map around Gonzales on the westbound side and after Pam's and not finding anything. Maybe just a couple of cars pumping the brakes. I'll be watching the area for you, but for now it shouldn't be a big deal. Let's check out this live shot together. I-10 is a 10-12 split, merging together. Traffic here looking good, and no major issues as you're traveling. By the split, eastbound toward Essence. So travel looks good this morning.
See an accident? Report it at WBRZ Traffic on Twitter.
This report is brought to you by Shawbills, where you can get up to $170 with the purchase of 4 eligible Michelin tires. Visit ShawbillsTire.com to learn more.
.624 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Quick programming update. Pamela Falk, CBS News' Pamela Falk is going to join us at 6:40 this morning to talk about the situation with Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine requesting an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council. They put that request in yesterday. What's the status of that, and what is the latest on the situation from the whatever a breakaway region is? Coming up in our next segment. Got your lunch plans yet? Might I suggest the folks over at Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes if you don't. You know where to find them. They're on Segan and just north of Industrialplex. They're on Bluebonnet and Highland. At Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes, you know what you're getting every single time. You're getting certified Angus beef, freshly cut vegetables as your condiments, freshly baked potato buns, and fantastic service across the board. Whether you get a cheddar bacon burger, mushroom Swiss, A1 cheeseburger, the double Diablo, whether you like the indulgent barbecue, the best case scenario, the well-done, the A-Wonderful, the Hamburg Dog, the Ranch Hand, or if you want to build your own. No matter how you break it down, you're getting the best burger in Baton Rouge over at Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes. And I got to remember to keep reminding you. Download the app. Get the Mooyah app. Join the rewards program. Start earning towards free food. Start earning towards rewards. You get a free order of fries just for downloading the app. And then you get rewards throughout the year on your birthday and such. Free burgers, free shakes, and the like. It's all available with the Mooyah app. And swing by for lunch today. Segan just north of Industrialplex. Bluebonnet at Highland for Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes. So grabbing the story from our news partners at WBRZ. If you've seen a car lot recently, you may have noticed there are a lot fewer vehicles out there to buy. A chip shortage is plaguing the auto industry, which means there are fewer cars to sell. It's affecting many people and organizations, including the Baton Rouge Police Department. Police rack up thousands of miles driving to and from scenes. Their units are supposed to be swapped out every few years, but for the last 2 years, they've been having to make those units last a bit longer. Quote, "The car itself is our office," says LG McNeely, Sergeant McNeely. "It takes us wherever we need to go throughout the city. Some vehicles used by officers have 200,000 plus miles on them. Now, while some units are newer, others are 2014 and 2012, racking up large maintenance costs, but it's not easy getting new cars right now. With COVID and supply chain issues, it's been more difficult for BRPD to replace its fleet. BRPD says it has 280 units on order right now, and as time goes on, that number only grows while more units age out. We started the process in 2020, and now with the deficiency of cars available to everyone, we're having to deal with that just like everyone else," McNeely said. For maintenance reasons, BRPD was hoping to switch over to one vehicle, but the wait for Chevy Tahoes alone would take even longer. BRPD has reached out to other vendors, and their fleet will be made up of Dodge Durangos and Ford Explorers too. Some units outside of that 280 number have arrived at BRPD recently. Those 30 or so units can't be used yet because they haven't been outfitted. More supply chain issues. McNeely says they have to be outfitted with equipment, and the equipment itself is on backlog. So we're waiting on cars, we're waiting on equipment, and we're doing our best with, we're doing the best we can with what we have. That, by the way, means doubling up for some of the 580 officers until the new units, can hit the streets and other units are delivered as well. Excuse me. New officers are driving their personal vehicles to districts, and then they're doubling up with other officers. Then they head out to service calls. BRPD prefers officers to be in their own units so they can respond to different calls for visibility purposes. There's no real time frame for when the 280 units will arrive. All BRPD knows right now is they're coming, and they're in constant contact with the dealers. So this has been an issue for all of us, really. I mean, you've seen the car lots. You know how empty they are. Add to that, having to equip cars to make them police ready, if you will. But what should we be doing if this problem worsens rather than gets better? I mean, we're looking at supply chain problems right now. What happens if, I don't know, somewhere in between now and a solution to this problem, there's a war? won't that make things even tougher? The supply chain issues we're facing right now are bad, but what happens if they get worse? I don't know. I was thinking about this the other day with the car situation and how bad it is. I don't know about y'all, but I got a daughter that's about to start driving, and I really, really, really want a new car. Parents, talking to parents right now. How you balance that? Handing your car off versus getting yourself something new, or do you go the safety route? It's a much bigger problem for BRPD, obviously. Flip side of this, though, is it necessarily a bad thing to have officers double up? Yes, it's not the biggest presence out there because there's strength in numbers, right? You see 2 units roll up, it's a big deal. But having officers team up and work together, is that necessarily a bad thing? Going to shift gears here. Going to talk Russia, Ukraine. Coming up next on Talk 107.3. Hang tight on Pamela Falk. I don't know if this is happening now. Morning, everybody in YouTube. How's it going? I'm not there yet. I don't know. Kind of on standby. Pamela Falk, Falk. Yeah. I can't even think straight. My knee is hurting so bad. Fuck me. Basically, I'll know when she gets there. And it's not until 6:40, so the segment's already going to be off and running.
Cutting the price of your wireless bill feels good. Really good. So good, you gotta try it. With Straight Talk, you can get our Silver Unlimited plan for just $45 a month. Now with unlimited high-speed data, plus 5 gigabytes hotspot data, and no contract, with nationwide 5G on America's best networks. Why pay a whole lot for your data when you can get unlimited for a whole lot less? Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise. 5G gigabyte apart. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com. Hey team, it's a full house. We gotta pick up the pace.
At Hank's Restaurant, the line goes around the block.
Yeah.
What he needs is another line cook.
Knock out Oak Ministries. Dave, can you keep an eye on that, please?
I need to do that because they've got an update today.
Indeed you do. InstantMet instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Brian Kilmeade.
When it came to the border policy, they started talking about what Biden was going to do day one in office. And a lot of people recommended on his staff, his allies, his people, said leave
There's people. Hey, at about 6:45, my guest for 6:52 should be here. So if it's early enough, I'm going to send you down to go let her in. If it's close enough to the break, we'll just take the break first.
After starting off with temperatures near 70 degrees, afternoon highs will be well in the 80s this afternoon. The humidity is back and conditions will be muggy as well. A few afternoon showers
Uber troopers.
possible today, but most likely for areas in Mississippi and all the bordering parishes. The muggy stretch will continue through Wednesday and Thursday with afternoon
Oh, catching rides around Baton Rouge, looking for a liter of cola.
possible each afternoon. A cold front is headed our way for late Thursday.
Yeah!
Morning, it will bring a bit more rain and some cooler temperatures as we head into Friday afternoon.
Actually, head on down. Yeah. 638, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. We've got Pamela Falk from CBS coming up in just a couple minutes. Give me 1 second. There we go. Hey, before we dive into that, though, I do need to remind you about the upcoming Rise LA conference, the Business and Industry Luncheon's coming up March 22nd. Well, Rise LA's executive focus groups are going on before that. Today they're in Lafayette and New Roads. Tomorrow right here in Baton Rouge. So, in Baton Rouge, if you want to get involved with the Rise LA Business and Industry Luncheon, if you want to take a look at the if you want to get involved with the executive focus group, it is tomorrow in Baton Rouge. Still a few spots available. RiseLA.biz is the website. RiseLA.biz. Addressing the workforce crisis here in Louisiana and how you can help and how you can get your company involved, how you can help start to turn the corner when it comes to battling the workforce crisis. We see the unemployment numbers on a regular basis. They've been improving. But is it improving in the right way? Is it improving in a way that increases profits and helps not just get people employed, but get people employed where they're earning, a wage that's worthwhile? RiseLA.biz, executive focus group coming up tomorrow. All right. Waiting on Pamela Falk. CBS News' Pamela Falk should be coming up in just a little while. I want to talk about the situation in Russia, or actually in Ukraine, as Russia is poised to invade. Russia recognized 2 Ukrainian breakaway regions yesterday, and in fact, As I'm talking, she's dialing in right now. Can you punch up the hotline there, Jake? Excellent. CBS's Pamela Falk joins us now. Pam, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. It was a late night. I mean, it's somewhat unusual to have a meeting end almost, 11 o'clock went into midnight before everybody had left. It's burning the midnight oil. But there was the smell of war and the largest deployment since World War II of forces. So a lot of people are trying to figure out what's next.
Yes, and so that's my first question is, what is next? I mean, so Russia recognizes 2 breakaway regions. What does that mean? What is a breakaway region?
Well, a breakaway region means that these are regions that are in the east. They're very close to the Russian border, and they are very close to Russia. So if we're starting really with the breakup of the Soviet Union, you see people divided because all of a sudden they're not part of the same family, and that really starts it gets worse and worse and worse, and they're the ones who there are sympathies with Russia, but that doesn't mean they have to be part of Russia. And so the more they rebelled, the more Russia gave them arms, and it became a conflict in the east of Ukraine, so that Russian-backed support and soldiers started to fight the Ukrainians. And it really was as if you gave the Louisiana arms and all of a sudden you're fighting your neighbors. So the part of the issue here is that they are part of Ukraine. Ukraine in 2014 had a leader who didn't want what most Ukrainians want, and he declared that he was a pro-Russian leader and he didn't want to get into the European Union and get into the West and get into the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, and people rebelled and he was thrown out. And that's 2014 is really what starts this whole ball rolling, because then the Russians rolled in. And that's when all of the agreements that you see that they're talking about started. They had a Minsk agreement just because the name of the place where it was signed, but Russia also demanded, there was an agreement that Russia didn't sign and Ukraine didn't sign, but the breakaway leaders signed, and it was to give up nuclear weapons that Ukraine actually had in order for Russia to recognize their borders, and that happened. So all of that by way of history. Now you've got the Putin wanting to actually invade Ukraine again because the NATO membership is getting closer. And it's still a long way away, but the Russian argument is they don't want troops at their border of the north of the West. They don't want proactive troops. They don't want offensive weapons. And so what they want to do is, some people think, the Ukrainian ambassador told me just that Putin wants to go down in the history book as reassembling the Soviet Union.
Which is a dangerous thing because it takes so many options off the table. For example, Germany has halted approval of the Nord Stream pipeline. Right. Would that even matter? Would economic sanctions even matter? Would anything financially as a repercussion even matter if the aim here, if the goal is reassembling the Soviet Union?
Right. The answer is no.
Right.
If that's the goal. Now, you can say they can say all they want, and they've said, they mean nothing to us, these sanctions. And that may be true if the goal is to control territory and make sure that your neighbor is part of you. What it was really interesting to me was in the last 2 weeks, the Russians and Putin himself said, well, look, maybe if this keeps going where the West cozies up to Ukraine, then the Russia would put military assets in Venezuela and Cuba. Well, where is that coming from? I mean, that's just, if you want to mess in my backyard, I'll mess in your backyard. And that's what they're saying. So the White House has been very, very cautious this morning to say, look, some sanctions are in. We're going to see some more sanctions today, but they're not calling it an invasion. So everyone's poised to see if Putin does more, if he sends him into Kyiv and takes over the government and puts in a pro-Russian leader. And that's why the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, has been a little more, let's see where this goes, let's try to talk, because he knows they could so easily throw him out. And the West is sort of sitting on its hands. I mean, what are they doing? I mean, yet mild sanctions put into place. So you're hearing also the Ukrainians say, come on, you got to do more, and especially at the United Nations. I mean, if they're not set to make peace in a situation like this, where one country is actually going across the border and invading another, what's it good for?
Yeah, and we get back around to the whole breakaway region thing. What's the difference between sympathetic towards Russia versus currently has guns pointed at them? I mean,
right, exactly. I mean, Russia's been saying all this, it's defensive posture. We had to protect the people in the region. And what does that mean when, in fact, they have 150,000 troops pointed at them and a lot of very sophisticated armament? Now, what's different between the last time this happened in 2014 is that a lot more Ukrainians saw what happened when the Russians came in and don't want it anymore. So the Ukrainian ambassador told me last week, he said, look, it was about 50%. People were so-so if they cared that the Russians came in 2014. Now, 70 to 90% of the Ukrainians say, wait a minute, we don't want the Russians in here. And so the Ukrainians have armed civilians. They've made sure that there's a sort of civilian defense force, basically. And Russians have given military service and Russian citizenship to these, what they're calling breakaway provinces. They're part of Ukraine. Yeah. And but on the Russian border. And so you're going to see Ukrainians fighting Ukrainians if this gets bigger, and that means the fight's not only on the battlefield but in the villages, and that can be really a catastrophe, as many of the diplomats said last night.
CBS's Pamela Falk is our guest. I really appreciate a couple minutes. I know it was a late-night couple with an early morning, but thank you for hopping on today.
Absolutely. Good talking with you.
Likewise. We got a break. See. Yes, absolutely. We got a break. Your Money Now. Then we're right back at it next on Talk 107.3. I didn't get around to the what's next comment or question because she's like, that was going to be another 4 minutes at least. Come on over.
Hey.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Brian.
Angela, Decoteau, nice to meet you. All right, I don't know what I'm doing really. Interview about the event?
Yes.
Okay. Never did this before, so. Oh, look. That's our commercial.
Do what?
That was our commercial.
Yes, it was. Well timed.
Yes. I have a cheat sheet here. Does this have to be directional?
Yeah, it is directional, so we'll put it on this side, put it right back at you, so as we're talking, it'll be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what kind of questions are you going to ask?
Basically tell us all about the event, how you got started with it, and what folks can get out of it.
Okay.
Yeah. It'll go by quickly. It's more conversational than inquisitive, so.
Okay.
Spain and Mexico back in place. The court said it. They don't do anything. Instead, they go up to Capitol Hill and say,
Yeah, we could have deleted that one.
not effective.
Could have deleted that one.
Brian Kilmeade, weekday mornings from 10 to 1 on Talk 1.
Suisse is facing fresh scrutiny from Swiss regulators and the European Parliament after leaked data purported to show the bank had served human rights abusers, corrupt politicians, and businessmen under sanctions for decades.
If I didn't delete that one, it would have been traffic, which would have gone.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Published by dozens of global media outlets following a coordinated
Yep. No, all good.
The leak of client data was initially sent to a German newspaper before being picked up by the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project and 46 other news organizations. Tesla CEO Elon Musk, via his attorney, is accused
Where's
by
my?
the Securities and Exchange Commission of leaking information
There it
about
is.
a federal investigation in order to retaliate against him for public criticism of the federal financial regulators. In a letter from the attorney to a district judge, it did not specify which investigation or what type of information may have been leaked by the SEC and to whom. On Wall Street, futures are modestly lower. That's your money now.
Joe Bucket John's Homes welcoming you back to the City Center Convenience
Brian, get in.
Yes, we do.
for the final transaction. That's right, Joe. Heather's moment has arrived, and you just hope all that training pays off. Heather lays down her purchase, but Randy rings it up as slowly as he can. He is a wily veteran.
Got about another minute.
Yeah, thereabouts. We gotta knock out our traffic report immediately after that. So takes just a second.
Now, in 5 years, your odds of getting certain cancers drop 50%. Meanwhile, Randy's still
And we're always on YouTube. So
Oh,
cameras right over, coming off the wall there. Yep.
awesome.
That's a slick move. Heather back. She is out of there. Even Randy tips his cap to Heather. Stand up to cancer, and Rally wants you to reduce your risk for cancer. Go to takeahealthystand.org.
RC traffic update from Ashley Fouché.
Good.
Travelers, no major crashes or breakdowns impacting your early morning flight. Still only 7 minutes from Split to LA1, and I-10 dedicating it quite nice. We're starting to see a little bit of volume pick up on I-12 now, about 13 minutes racing, 10-12. Let's take
So we're gonna have about 6.5 minutes till news. So we're like the total segment's gonna be about 6.5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna fly by.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. That's a long time. 6 minutes.
no.
Well, then again, I get to talking, so.
That's the
Yeah,
the
I
point.
get to talking, and it's 2 hours pass.
See an accident reported at RC traffic on Twitter.
This report is brought to you by Shawbills, where you can get up to $170 with the purchase of 4 eligible Michelin tires. Visit ShawbillsTire.com to learn more.
6:53. Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. You heard the commercial right there leading up to Your Money Now, so it couldn't have been more well timed. Live to Lead is coming up soon. What, Thursday? If I'm not mistaken.
This Thursday.
Yes. Joining us now to talk about that, Angela Decoteau. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Brian. Thanks for having me today.
Glad to have you on. Glad to be talking about this. Glad to be talking about, first of all, the fact that it's virtual and in person. Everything in person is
Yes.
fantastic right now. What is Live to Lead?
So Live to Lead is produced by John Maxwell. John Maxwell brings some high-level, world-class speakers to come and produce this content. So he does it every year in October in Atlanta. It's a simulcast, and he produces it so that people can bring it to their community. Now, I can bring it to my community, and only certain people can bring it. Like, I am a John Maxwell coach at a specific level. Then I have access to this content, and then I can bring it to my community. So you can't YouTube it. You can't just look this up.
Right.
These are world-class speakers that John Maxwell, he brings his best at these events.
Who's the event for?
The event's for business owners, people who are, maybe they're looking for a reset or some change. They want some tips and tricks to try to help them to succeed in their life, in their business.
How'd you get involved?
That's a little bit of a long story.
Go for it.
Okay, so about 11 years, my life hit a big road bump. So my marriage, my nonprofit, and my real estate company all hit a wall and crash and burn. We were going bankrupt. My marriage was on the rocks. I didn't know what to do, and I just didn't like what I was feeling at the time, and I wanted to change. So I started looking and seeking for something. I mean, when you're at the bottom, I mean, there's nothing else is worse than that.
Right.
So you have nothing to lose at that point. So I started looking into the John Maxwell Company and started working with them and their coaches, and I started to really invest in myself. And I'd never really invested in myself in personal development, and I was just blown away. Since then, I've rebuilt my company, rebuilt my marriage. I'm happily married 41 years now.
Fantastic.
I'm an attorney. I went to law school at the age of 55. So the thing about personal development is it empowers you so that you become like a superpower. You become something that you had no idea you could become. You have successes in ways you never thought you could. I mean, even going to law school at 55, I still rocked it. I won awards. I have 2 awards for the highest grades in my class. I mean, the success that you attain when you develop yourself through personal development is just incredible. And that's why I'm passionate about Live to Lead, because it brings those type of teachings that I learned through the John Maxwell Company, plus more, because he has high-level, world-class speakers that come.
Go to law school at 55, not the norm here. I
Yes.
mean, not this is
Yes, and I have
it doesn't have to be that extreme, right?
No, it doesn't, but it just proves that you have these, like, it's like a superpower that you get whenever you invest in yourself.
What kind of investment are we talking about here as far as the day is concerned? This is a full day of speakers?
Yes, it's a full day of speakers. So it starts at 8 o'clock. From 8 to 12 is the John Maxwell, his event, the Live to Lead, actual Live to Lead event. The afternoon event, that's where local leaders will come. So if a person wants to get the afternoon ticket, that's the VIP ticket, they can come early, network with their friends, then they can go to have lunch, and then they can mingle with some of the local leaders.
We got about 2.5 minutes left. John Maxwell, for those who aren't familiar with him, give me a little bit of his bio.
Sure. He's a #1 leadership expert in the world, according to Inc. magazine. He's written numerous books, spoken around the world, and he's just an incredible leader.
So the way the event breaks down, John Maxwell's not going to be here. Like, this is part of a packaged event, right? Or is he physically?
Correct. Yeah, he's not physically going to be here. I mean, the price would be astronomical to bring him and 5 or 4.
Well, it's him, it's Jeff Henderson, it's Jamie Kern, Lima, Ed Millett, I believe I'm pronouncing it last
Ed
right.
Millett, Valerie Burton.
Yes.
So that's a big, huge world-class lineup to
but
bring to
after that, the takeaways on a local level, you get to break them down on a personal, on a local level after that, correct?
Yes. We have some local leaders that'll be coming as well.
We get the event posted on Talk's Facebook page, but where can folks go if they want to learn more? If there are still spots available, right?
Yes, there are a few spots available. Get your tickets today. Go to yourleadershipsolutions.com/live to lead.
It's really one of those events where, number one, getting back in a room with other people who are forward thinking, other people who want to be like the first step to any change is the want to change.
Correct.
And if you're in the room with other people who want that sort of positive change in their business and their life as well, it's a good room to be in.
It is. And we've seen for the last 2 years, life is about change.
Absolutely.
And there's been a lot of pivots that have to happen in order for us to be successful in the new world that we're living in today.
It is Thursday. What was the location again?
Park 73.
Park
in
73.
Prairieville.
Excellent. And it's available on our Facebook page. Angela gave you the website as well. It is called Live to Lead. It is, it's coming up soon. I mean, we're less than 48 hours from it now. So.
That's right.
All good. Angela Decoteau, thank you so much for stopping by. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the time.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. We have got CBS World News Roundup coming your way right now. It is. Go to our Facebook page. You'll find it there. You'll find the link to click through and register there. We've got to get you to CBS World News Roundup. Right after the CBS World News Roundup, we're blowing out top stories in trending this morning. Why? Senator Bill Cassidy is going to be in studio. That's coming up next. After Senator Cassidy, got a busy 7 o'clock hour. After Senator Cassidy, we've got John Deloney from Dave Ramsey's team on at 7:15, and John Bissell is the co-CEO of Origin Materials. They've made a big investment in Ascension Parish, and we're talking about it next hour. Right now, CBS World News Roundup coming your way. Okay. I want to get you on my podcast.
Sure, I'd happy to.
Podcast is called Cool Story, bro.
Oh,
But it's all kinds of stories from all over the map of, hey, can you go let Senator Cassidy in? Oh wait, no, never mind. I don't have the text yet.
He's coming to our Rotary today. That's why I'm all dressed up.
Oh, excellent.
I invited him.
Which Rotary?
Gonzalez Rotary in Ascension.
Cool. I'm in Baton Rouge's Rotary.
Oh, which one? The big one or the
big one? Yeah.
Okay.
Still on Wednesday.
Yes, I used to belong to the Sunrise.
Oh, nice. That's over at Bocage, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, actually, I saw that on the senator's schedule. Just stories from anywhere from I talked to the former head of the state police about roaming the sidelines for LSU games to the spokesperson for LSU's vet school about actually talking about the rally possum more than anything. Going to law school at 55, I think, is pretty freaking incredible.
It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I bet. So we're gonna put Alan and circle back with you after all this is over with, after the big event's over with, and things settle down a little bit. But I would love to get you on just to tell the story.
I'd love to tell my story.
Excellent. Good deal.
It was quite the ride. But,
I bet.
it proves that you do have a lot more potential than you think you do.
Oh, I would imagine.
Everyone does.
Hello. I'm on my way. You walk up.
Okay.
Introduce you to Senator Kennedy. Not Kennedy, Cassidy. The other senator.
True. 3 miles.
Well, so he's technically on the other side of Lee, so
Yeah,
it's
it's
not-
like 3 miles. You know what I'm saying? That's a bicycle.
No, I'm with you. So we've got way more ground to cover than we're ever going to have time for. I believe we're talking about energy policy. Oh, and we're already up and running on YouTube, so
So don't pick my nose publicly.
pretty much, yeah.
No, sir. I don't think we had the chance to meet, but DC Mardi Gras, Madison Smith, your date.
Oh, yeah. It was a great event, huh?
It was quite something for sure.
It really was.
I'll never forget it.
It was something.
The coolest times of my life.
So you've got Gonzalez Rotary today, among others.
And Baton Rouge Area Chamber, and then the Asphalt Association, and folks in our state are saying, okay, what can we do, not just to catch up with other states, but to move ahead?
Yeah.
How do we become like a destination location,
Business-wise.
business-wise?
Yeah.
Tourism, yes.
More than just Mardi Gras and jazz.
And so these are groups which are all very keenly interested in this. I just go to church, and the young lady that teaches Sunday school with my daughter takes care of the children. Father's so proud. Summa cum laude from LSU, got a job with Ernst & Young or Deloitte. She's moving to Dallas. Now, on the one hand, very happy for her, but quite likely she'll be Zooming pretty soon. she could live in Baton Rouge.
Yes.
If we set up Baton Rouge to be a place where a young person desires, I want to raise my kids here, I want to. So we don't have to throw our hands up and say, well, the corporate's there, so we have no hope. It's a new paradigm. Zoom has changed it. So anyway, I'm all about that.
We've talked with Adam Knapp a number of times, and from the chamber a number of times about what's the point of setting up a company in a place where there's a high cost of living, like for example Silicon Valley. There's no reason to be there anymore.
Well, there is if you like the vibe. If you
Okay.
like the vibe, if you like the amenities.
Yeah.
I think of Houston as a lot of congestion, but somebody said, why? I love my neighborhood by itself has more big malls than New Orleans in total. It's that person that's very important. So, but, you know, and you just talked about how, oh my gosh, going from South Downs to here is so far. If you had a bike path and you cruised and it was safe, you would love it.
Yeah.
And you would do it. So you can create an environment where people wish to live. And now with the age of Zoom, we can do that.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about here?
We're going to start with just a quick little sound off on Russia and Ukraine because it's going to tie into everything else as well.
Okay.
So, but energy policy and risk rating 2.0. 7:06, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Hour 2 of Mornings with Brian Haldane coming your way right now. Thanks to Pam Falk and Angela Decoteau for stopping on the show last hour, talking about the Russia-Ukraine situation and Live to Lead, respectively. We got a busy hour for you this hour. We're blowing right past top stories and trending. Coming up in our next segment, John Deloney from Dave Ramsey's team is going to hop on the hotline. And then after that, John Bissell, the co-CEO of Origin Materials. They're about to make a huge investment into Ascension Parish. That's coming up later on. Right now, though, we start the hour off. Yes, we don't often blow past top stories and trending, but totally worthwhile when Senator Bill Cassidy is in the studio. Senator Cassidy, good morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you, Brian?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for stopping by this morning.
Glad
I
to be
appreciate
with
it,
you, brother.
No, glad to have you on here. We got a lot of ground to cover, but there's no way I don't start off by talking about Russia and Ukraine. And the situation that is, I guess, devolving would be the proper word. Your office put out a statement last night about what's going on over there.
Yeah, so it looks like the Russians are going to chew off a portion of Ukraine, eastern Ukraine. Frankly, they already control it, essentially. They're going to chew that off. They're going to absorb it into the Soviet Union, or into Russia. I call it the Soviet Union because they're trying to recreate that empire that the Soviet Union was.
Yeah.
The West, we've got limited opportunities to respond. We got to use whatever we have to respond, because the Russians will keep on nibbling, keeping Europe, if you will, under their kind of influence, and we've got to stop that.
So is anything going to matter other than brute force? I mean, if Vladimir Putin says he wants a return to the Soviet Union, would economic sanctions do anything?
Absolutely.
Really?
People forget. The way that Reagan brought down the evil empire, the Soviet Union, he got the Saudis to flood the world with cheap oil. All of a sudden, the Russians, who are a petrostate, did not have the income to support their army or their social spending or their education or their research, you name it. Now they're more dependent upon revenue from natural gas than from oil. This is where Louisiana is key. If we're shipping natural gas from our shore via LNG tankers to the EU, and if we help pipelines go from countries like Israel into the EU, then the Russians have less money. They have less money, their economy suffers, the army is less well funded, they can no longer afford to invade.
Which brings us around to energy policy. Brings us around to where we are right now. We just saw Germany suspend the Nord Stream 2 pipeline because it's coming from Russia. How do we move now to make sure energy policy is set up the right way in order to make sure Russia's expansion into the, return to the Soviet Union days can be curbed?
We've got to expand production of U.S. natural gas and the ability to ship that via liquefied natural gas around the world. Now, by the way, that helps the environment. We produce our natural gas in a much more environmentally sensitive way than do the Russians. It helps our economy. It's going to create lots of jobs for the United States, and for people in Louisiana if we're producing our own natural resources in a healthy, safe way. But it's also good for our national security. As I mentioned, the more natural gas that we're selling to Europe, the less they have to buy from the Russians. The weaker the Russian economy, the weaker their army. It is a way to hit, if you will, I hate to say check those boxes. It is a way to put a big imprint upon 4 things at once incredibly important to the world, to our country.
Is natural gas the only avenue here when it comes to energy policy? I mean, we just saw a resuspension of the licenses for drilling out in the Gulf as well. How does that play into it?
Yeah, so it's like the Biden administration. If Putin had come up with an energy policy for the United States, he couldn't have done much better for Russia than what the Biden administration is doing. The Biden administration is putting a stop on U.S. production of oil and natural gas, the stop on the pipelines needed to take that natural gas to areas where it can be shipped overseas. It's just incredible. And they're saying, oh my gosh, we got to take into account the social cost of carbon, neglecting that the federal government's own research shows that when our workers produce our natural gas and oil, it is more environmentally sensitive than when the Russians do. If you're concerned about carbon, then produce your oil and natural gas in the United States. Don't produce it in Russia, and the Biden administration doesn't get that memo.
Let's shift over to energy policies. It's an easy to me. It's an easy answer because it's a win-win-win. We get to have cleaner fuel, we get to have more jobs, and we get to dictate our own destiny at the end of the day. So let's move over to let's talk a little bit about FEMA real quick and Risk Rating 2.0 and where we're at.
Yeah, so Risk Rating 2.0 is the new way that they're going to start pricing flood insurance programs, the flood insurance program. The first year is not so bad, maybe even a little bit of a benefit for some people. But in the out years, it begins to increase pretty rapidly. We've been pushing FEMA to release an internal document. They finally agreed to do so. It shows that because of these rate increases, about 20% of the people who have current flood insurance will drop their flood insurance because they can't afford the premiums, which means that there's more risk on fewer policyholders, which means more people drop, which means there's more risk on even fewer. It's a death spiral. We've got them to finally publish that as part of a process to show them kind of like this is a stupid thing to do. But we're working, and by the way, the Biden administration could fix this with a stroke of the pen. They choose not to. I am working with a guy, Bob Menendez, senator from New Jersey, 2 parties, 2 regions, to try and come up with a legislative fix that would cap those premium increases, that would make the flood insurance program more affordable and accountable and sustainable.
This is one of those ones where I'm always a little bit hesitant because I don't know how much the rest of the nation understands exactly what's going on the ground here in Louisiana. I mean, New Jersey, sure, they'll get their fair share of storms, but they don't see the repercussions the way we do. How tough is it to make it translate to somebody from another part of the country as to what we deal with down here?
So we think of coastal flooding as being the big issue. But if you're in Tennessee and you recently had a flood in a suburb of Nashville, that's called riverine. You've got some pass between 2 mountains, and the water comes down in a big rain, and it's got only one place to go. And if somebody's living in that lower level of that pass, they flood it. And that happened. It's West Virginia, it's Pennsylvania, it is Ohio, it is Colorado. So any place there's mountains, there can be flooding. And we're relying, I hate to say it, but we're relying upon that reality to bring people to the table.
One more before we get you out of here, and I appreciate you stopping by this morning, and that is where we are with the Omicron variant right now and COVID restrictions. We're seeing a lessening of restrictions around the country. The CDC is sounding off as well. Are we where we need to be right now?
Well, we're where the American people want to be.
Okay.
And you can't get out ahead of the American people. And they're sick of it. And they're looking around saying, listen, Omicron seems to be more infectious, but it doesn't seem to be as deadly. There's now literature showing, which I've been kind of harping on, that if you've been exposed to Omicron, it gives you immunity to COVID in general. Sure, you still want to get your vaccine, get your booster, but even if you get that, you may get Omicron, but it's going to be a mild case. It gives you even more immunity.
Right.
And this is evolving into something like the flu, maybe a little bit deadlier, but we're going to get it. A few people will die, but most people will just have a mild case. And Americans seem willing to accept that because they're tired of the restrictions on their life. I think we need to be where the American people are.
Where are the restrictions still at a point where the American people don't want them?
Folks are very irritated with having to show that they've been vaccinated to walk into an eating establishment, for example.
Yeah.
And the kind of lockdowns that occurs. Now, by the way, if the private owner wants to do that, it's up to the private owner. It's their business. So just to say that. But nonetheless, that's kind of a reminder. And I think what you're seeing in Canada with the truckers going crazy, kind of like, wait a second, I'm in the cab by myself. I'm never with other people. I'm supposed to be wearing a mask.
Yeah.
It's a kind of petty tyranny of government that they're just sick of.
He is Senator Bill Cassidy. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the time. I know you got to run. You got a busy lineup today.
A busy lineup, no complaints. We're speaking about a lot of things. How do we get Louisiana moving to 2050? Don't catch up to 2022. My gosh, we need to be thinking about 2050, and that's what I'm talking about today to multiple groups.
I mean, 2050. Come on, I'm tired already. How do you?
Hey, brother, that's not you and me, but it's our children.
Darn right it is.
And they are going to be the ones who dictate the future of our state. So let's hand it to them so that they can dictate a future which is bright and beautiful.
Well, I know you got to get to it. I appreciate you stopping by this morning. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, own your past, change your future. Dr. John Deloney from Dave Ramsey's team joins us next. All right. Thank you so much.
You've been doing this now longer than anybody, huh?
When you combine both stints, yes. Because I was 2011 to 2014, and then I was let go for a little while. But now I'm 2.5 years into my return.
And so Kevin and who did it with Kevin? Bill. No, before.
It was me and Matt Kennedy, and then me and Kevin Gallagher, and then Bill and Kevin.
But who was before Bill?
Me.
No. Oh, wait. I'm old enough. 12 years ago, 13 years ago. He's now doing financial services.
Matt Kennedy.
Oh, is that Matt?
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And then before, so that's just here. Before that, there was WJBO, where it was Matt Kennedy and Kevin Meeks.
Oh, that's what I was thinking, JBO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meeks is since passed.
Yeah, I knew that. Yeah. Like a motorcycle accident. Like you wonder if he didn't do it on purpose.
No.
He just drove his motorcycle into the wrong lane or something.
Coming out of town center.
Yeah.
Was that what killed him, or did he just get? You know what? I don't remember now.
I remember he just did something like totally wrong.
The bike had no business. But yeah.
Oh, was he addiction or something?
No. Man, I'm not. Goodness gracious, it's well over a decade ago, like you said. So the memory does not serve me well right now. But
I went to high school together, so a little bit of a connection beyond. But I'd see him up here and talk to him often. Great
His
guy.
son moved to Hawaii. He's a TV producer out in Hawaii now.
Is he?
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah, Josh. Good kid.
Good for him.
So,
well, thank you, man.
My pleasure. Thank you, Sean. Always. Thanks, man.
Tell Madison hello.
I think he's remembering something that I wasn't, which is not surprising because he's a doctor and has a better brain than me. But I think he might be right. God, for the life of me, I can't remember. All right, where are we at? Debbie says flood policy prices rising, but no talk about prevention. Shouldn't that be the start? Yes, which is why we talk to CPRA like all the friggin' time. But yes, it should be a big part of it. It's getting the insurance companies to recognize the level of prevention that we've got. Recognize what's going on our coast. 7:19 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. We are running super duper late. My appreciation to Senator Bill Cassidy for stopping by in studio. Joining us now is Dr. John Deloney from Dave Ramsey's team. Own your past, change your future. John, good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm outstanding, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well. So let's talk about the new book, Own Your Past, Change Your Future. What can we expect?
Well, it's just a journey into the last 10 years of me working behind closed doors with families and young people and older folks as the wheels have fallen off. And it also tracks my own story as the same thing happened to me while I was also winning, man. I was doing everything right and had a good family and a healthy family and a good job. And my body said enough. And I just got curious about what happened to me and my colleagues and my country. And we dug in, and this is the result.
All right, I want to dive in deep because a lot of what we're facing right now on a individual level ties in with what we're facing on a national level. How do we sift through our own past and take the reins of our own past versus that which we feel helpless against?
That's a great question. I think it's important to step back and look at what our culture has handed us. It's handed us one of two things, one of two narratives. One is, you are the worst thing that ever happened to you. You're the worst thing you've ever done, the worst thing that was ever said to you. That's all you'll ever be. And you need somebody, whether it's a government, whether it's a workplace, somebody needs to come save you. Mm-hmm. And the other narrative is, forget your feelings. Nothing in the past matters. Just get up every day and grind it and crush it and drag it and kill it. And that simply doesn't comply with neuroscience. It's not real. And so what I'm proposing is a new third way, which is you've got to own these stories that happened to you. You've got to sit with what you did to somebody when you hurt them, even if you didn't mean to, the abuse you suffered, whatever it was, and then you have to ask the hard, gritty question, what comes next? And it comes back to what you just said, man. What can I own moving forward, and what can I lean into and make it happen?
One of the hardest parts about that is accepting our own level of responsibility across the board, because at every avenue we're given, clickbait or news or whatever you want to call it is going to tell us that all of our problems are the result of something else.
Oh, man, preach. So you're exactly right. I think one of the biggest challenges of any of us is looking in the mirror and saying, what have I contributed to the state I'm in? And most of us will find that there is other people, whether it's systems or neighbors or an old uncle or an old coach, that have contributed to our pain, but also, man, we play a huge role in how we're feeling today and how we can feel tomorrow.
Dr. John Deloney is our guest. He's with Dave Ramsey's team. The book is called Own Your Past, Change Your Future. John, they all say the first step to changing a problem or to solving a problem is acknowledging that there is a problem. How tough is it to acknowledge what appropriately acknowledge what the right problem is?
Man, it's really hard. It's really hard, especially as you mentioned it. We live in a culture that just says, if you're hurting, it's somebody else's fault, and I can prove it to you. I can show it to you. And that goes for, I don't care what, it's every race, every demographic, every age, everybody's being fed every day, all day. Everyone else is the cause of your challenges. In some cases, it's true. Most of the time, it's us. And so we got to look in the mirror and take ownership of our stories, these stories we were born into, the ones we were told, and insidiously, those stories we were born into. And what I mean by that is, what political party was your parents? What part of the country? I grew up in Houston. You grew up in Baton Rouge, so we grew up very similar, right? Where did you grow up? What were you told as a kid? And then what did that coach tell you? What did your uncle tell you? What did your church tell you? What were those stories we were told? Those stories become the stories we tell ourselves, and those are the ones we have to challenge. Am I really too overweight to be loved? Am I really too dumb to ever learn math? Is our quote-unquote family just blue-collar and we're never going to make it? Like, what are those stories that we tell ourselves, and we really got to challenge those?
In your experience, what are the few of the ones that are more prevalent than others?
The big ones are based on childhood traumas, which are you're only as good as your body, or you're dumb, you'll never be enough, or if you were a kid who was responsible for making sure dad didn't get too mad or that mom didn't get too overwhelmed, if you were a kid who was carrying the weight of your parents' emotions, then usually you find yourself a fixer, you're a people pleaser, it's hard for you to stand up for yourself. So a lot of those old stories that we carry around as kids, those are the big ones, is I'm not enough, my job is to make sure everybody else is okay, and my needs don't matter, and I'm never going to be able to, quote-unquote, make it, whatever that means.
A lot of these things do not start with our own failures. How much do our own failures play into it?
Well, what happens is our own failures. You know, it's what the great Brene Brown says. Whatever you go looking for in the world, you'll surely find it. And so when you fail and you already think you'll never be enough, and you have a failure as a kid or as an adult, or you get fired from your first job or whatever, that failure just reinforces the story you're already telling yourself. Conversely, if your coach, I had a football coach tell me I could be anything and that I was special, I was a good athlete, I was a good leader. And so every failure is, and I look at that and I say, all right, great, that's just another opportunity for me to learn, right? It's all about those stories, whether they're positive or negative.
Dr. John Deloney is our guest. We're talking about own your past, change your future. Dr. Deloney, I got to shift the conversation over to social media a little bit and where we're at with the climate of creating our own bubbles and silos. And it feels like it should be helping, but it's by and large, it's not helping. Is there a way to reverse course when it comes to where our society is headed technologically?
I think the beauty of the American people is we have an opt-out switch. And so I'll go back to when my granddad, he passed away a few years ago in his 90s. When he was a child, they gave him cigarettes in the rural Texas county because it calmed him down. It's where kids, it helped the kids be calm, right? And it was new and it was exciting and it was in a quick little package, and we could get the kids to calm down. And then in short order, we realized it was killing everybody. Yeah. And I think we're on a very similar trajectory here with, hey, it's cool to transmit communication. I can text my wife all day, every day, I love you, I love you. I can send her an Instagram post that says I love you. But her body needs to look me in the eye and feel me say, I love you. I need to go be a part of our home and help with the dishes and the kids and our home environment to show her, to let her body feel that I love her, right? And those are two very different things. And they also, we've lost social contact, meaning I might get really frustrated. Me and you, Brian, if we were having some good Cajun po' boys there in Baton Rouge, you and I are eating together, I might get frustrated with you, but I'm not going to say, hey, I wish you and your family were dead. But if I'm sitting on my couch eating Cheetos, lobbing grenades at you, right, then I'm going to say things that I would never say in person. So we've lost the social context that we have when we're just two guys having a disagreement in person, right? So I think reverse course is my kids, Brian, won't go anywhere near social media as long as they live in my house. And that's the same as I'm not going to hand them cigarettes either. And I view them very, very, very similarly. Very interesting. And see, at the same time, though, I don't want to downplay the level of importance of something like, because I'll text my wife all day long as well. I mean, with the number of, we got 3 kids, we're constantly on the go, we're make time for the gym, just to, if not for the physical fitness, then just the time to decompress and like working multiple jobs across the board. Sometimes that text is all we have throughout the day. That's right. So I think it's important to remember that we're transmitting information, we're exchanging information, we are not connecting. And it's a great gap filler, but it is not a proxy. It's not an exchange. And most of us will text our wives, and like you and me, man, I'll text my wife 20 times during the day that says I love you. If 70 to 90% of communication is nonverbal, she got the information, but she didn't feel it, right? So it's both and, right? And I agree with you, man. Texting, shooting quick messages, God, it's a lifesaver in a busy world. But also, I have to do the hard work and look at my schedule and say, is this producing the life that I want to ultimately lead, right? And so I've had to back down on some things professionally. I had to turn some things down here, some great speaking opportunities, because it's not meeting my ultimate mission, which is to be a great husband and a great father and a great community member and a great citizen. It's different than I can just make another dollar, right? And those are hard conversations we all have to have in our homes and in our community. We only got 2 minutes left. Dr. John Deloney is our guest. I've got so much ground I want to cover. Keep going, brother. No, the news, hard breaks in the whole, we're going to have to set up a second conversation to be sure. Okay, 2 minutes left. First of all, how important is the Serenity prayer in life? I know this isn't directly tied to your book, but I've got to ask you. Go ahead. It's absolutely part of my book. Let me tell you why. It's not specifically mentioned there, but I woke up early this morning. I'm an early riser. My weight workouts early. The first thing I did was to go to 3 different websites and news sites to check on what was going on in Russia. You know what I can control in Russia? Nothing.
Thank you. Oh,
Nothing. Zero. And so I chose to start my day this morning by focusing on something I have no control over. You know what I didn't do? I didn't lift this morning, Brian. You know what I didn't do? I didn't write my son and daughter a note to tell them how much I loved them before I came to work early. I didn't do those things, and I could have done those. That's what I can control, not what's going on in Putin's mind, right? And so, yes, there's only limited resources that we have to control stuff, and we got to put down the stuff we can't control and triple down on the stuff we can control.
what's your workout look like?
Oh man, I lift a lot, man. It keeps me sane, and mostly weights and mostly mobility exercises and some heavy stuff. I spent some time with Jocko last year, so I had to up the weights and up the game a little bit. But yeah, it's an important part of my day.
All right, we're supposed to talk about being a part of the Ramsey team as well, or at least I had that written down, but we are straight up out of time. Own your past, change your future. He's Dr. John Deloney. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the time. I'm fired up. Thank you so much for hopping on board.
You're awesome, brother. Thank you, Brian.
No, you're awesome as well. That's so good. Oh! You know, we talk about being teamed up with Ramsey all the time. 1-4 right here on Talk 107.3. You know, y'all know I love Ken Coleman, right? Well, add Dr. John Deloney to that mix. Jeez. It's about so much more than just spending less than you make. Oh, CBS News coming your way. So much better than every damn headline you're going to see today. Oh, my God. Like, I'm legit hyped right now. Like, I want to run through that brick wall right there. About to run through the damn thing. Shit. And this is where everybody, like, this is where the internet craps on you, right here. This is where the internet hops in and poo-poos everything we just talked about. Now, I'm properly tucked. The shirt has got a good tuck on me right now. Now, if I were, like, take the shirt off, I would, like, knock out about 30 push-ups, but... Holy shit. Oh! This was a big part of the weight loss for me, is breaking through that. And there's so much. I could talk to John Deloney for like hours on end. It's breaking through that, for lack of a better term, I got to quote Tyler Durden, breaking through that we're the middle children of history aspect. We have no war. We have no Great War. We have no Great Depression. Our Great War is with ourselves. Our Great Depression is our own lives. Breaking through that wall is just insane. U.S. Women's National Team wins fight for equal pay. Good luck with that shit. Sorry. Sorry, I didn't mean ADD right there, y'all. Yeah. All right, we got to do a second round with Deloney. I've been talking with my Ramsey affiliate person about like better, making more out of just than having 1-4 and then having Ken Coleman at night, which I'm looking at adding a second hour of him. I hadn't figured that one out yet. But what can we do to grow the relationship? Because I would rather run everything that comes out of Nashville, everything that comes out of the Ramsey campus. It's just better. I'm thinking a monthly hit from Ramsey's people in some way, shape, or form. I don't know. I gotta hit them up. Is it John Bissell? Did he say Bissell? Does that how you pronounce it? Okay. Hey, John, you there? Hey, this is Brian. We're in our news break right now, so it'll be about 2 more minutes. Is your last name pronounced Bissell or Bissell? Bissell. All right. Hang tight. Coming your way in a second. Oh, God. It's the new one. We have a new one. So the thing is, the U.S. women's national soccer team is a bit of it's a blip on the radar that you're not going to see everywhere else. And that's the hard part about the whole discussion in the fight for equal pay, is because everybody's going to want to translate it to the WNBA. Why aren't WNBA players paid what NBA players are paid? And the simple answer is they're not a draw. They're not a draw. They're what? About 25, 30 years into their league. What were NBA players paid 30 years into their league? That's the angle that's not being looked at here. The women's national team, the soccer team's different. So I don't know how to take what is considered a win for them and make it translate across the board. All good. No. Way too much going on. Okay. Oh. $7:38. Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Thanks again to John Deloney, Dr. John Deloney from Dave Ramsey's team, for hopping on board last segment. Thanks to Senator Bill Cassidy for stopping by in our first segment of the hour. And we're not slowing down by any stretch of the imagination. New jobs are on the way to Ascension Parish. Origin Materials announced it. They're moving in. A carbon-negative materials company committed to leading the global transition to sustainable materials, announced the company plans of an investment of at least $750 million to develop a biomass manufacturing facility in Ascension that will result in 1,057 new direct and indirect jobs. Joining us now to talk about that is co-CEO of Origin Materials, John Bissell. John, good morning. How are you?
Doing really well. Thanks for having me on.
No, glad to have you on here. I'm a little bit fired up to be talking about this. So over 1,000 new direct and indirect jobs, but I've got to back things up. This is Louisiana. We know oil and gas. You start throwing out terms like carbon-negative materials, and I want to make sure we're all up to speed on what that actually means.
Yeah, sure. So what that means is the way we manufacture, both the process and the feedstocks that we use. So instead of using oil and gas, we're principally using biomass and other kinds of residuals from other processing. if you sum all that up, it means that the materials that we produce are ultimately lower, very low carbon impact, net zero and below. So some of them actively, if you look at the sort of accounting balance, if you tally up all of the carbon that was emitted in the process and was consumed in the feedstocks or avoided by using those feedstocks, then you end up with negative materials. They actually removed carbon on a net basis from the environment instead of producing it while they were made.
What's the product?
So we make a couple different products. You can sort of think of our process a little bit like a refining process, and you put one thing in and you get a couple different things out the other side. They can all go to different markets, but the big one we talk about is PET. So PET plastic is both the plastic that people are usually familiar with that's used for food packaging. It's a clear plastic. It's by far the most recycled plastic in the world. And then the other big application for it is fibers. So, carpet, automotive upholstery, polyester clothing, so athletic apparel, all that kind of stuff. Those are actually both pretty much the same material, and we're heavily invested in both, and we've got lots of customers looking for material in both those categories.
Okay, I get the packaging. I get that end of it. How do you get plastic out of wood?
Yeah, so what's happening is we're using a chemical process to break down the wood. So we're not just isolating something from the wood that happens to be plastic. We're actually chemically converting the wood into something else. And that something else is really a series of intermediates. You could sort of, we think of it like ethylene. You can make all sorts of different things out of it. But the molecules that we're making, furans, you can make all kinds of stuff. One of those things is the raw material that goes into making PET and polyester. So we're really chemically transforming the wood rather than just pulling something out of it, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Okay, so going to be using Louisiana's timber mills and managed forests. How do you break that down, and where are you sourcing from within the state?
Yeah, so we really want to source as much material as we possibly can as what we call residuals. So this is material that's coming out of sawmills or pulp mills, other kinds of timber processing facilities. And we want the stuff that they don't have as high a value use for. When you make structural lumber, when you cut a board, sometimes there's some stuff left over. Usually there's stuff left over depending on the size of the board and all those kinds of things. We want to collect all that. Sometimes that's everything from like off-spec chips to dust. We can even take, pins and fines, which is a special category from pulp mills, these kinds of things. So we want to take all that stuff and use as much of it as we can. So that means all the local sawmills and pulp mills around are great sources of feedstock for us. So that's the key. Now, you guys also have a huge, deep, what we call wood basket, and that's really attractive too. We can take fresh lumber if we need to, but we don't think we're going to need to do that very much in Louisiana.
I mean, this sounds like a lot of volume and a lot of resources coming in from different angles, and none of them, I don't want to say none of them coming from the ground, because originally they do, but this sounds like you're making use of a lot of things that were just wasted before.
That's the idea. That's exactly right. And by the way, it's interesting you mentioned logistics. That's one of the really attractive parts about Louisiana, right? It's you've got great rail, you've got great road transit, and there's the Mississippi right there, and there are few better logistics corridors than the Mississippi River. So we're pretty excited about the location, and you're right. They're one of the ways that people have described sort of a sustainable economy is use everything above the ground, right? Don't use stuff that's from below the ground, and that's exactly what we're doing. We're using feedstocks that are all above ground, and preferably they're not only things that were above ground, but things that somebody else already processed once, and we're using the residue.
Well, actually, let's continue down that path, because the location is very important here in Ascension Parish and Geismar. Origin materials from West Sacramento, California. How did we get on your map to begin with?
Yeah, so there are a couple things that are really interesting there. One, we are, while we're carbon negative materials and we're a little bit of a different process and all those kinds of things, we still look and feel like the process looks and feels like a heavy industry chemicals, right? That's sort of the skill set and the style of processing that we're using, and that's all the firms that we use to design our stuff. And so, obviously, areas in the U.S. that have really high talent densities in heavy industrials and chemicals and refining are really attractive to us just in general because those are the kinds of people that we want to hire. And so, there are lots of places like that around the U.S., but Louisiana is certainly one of them. The second overlay that's really valuable for us is these feedstocks that we were just talking about. So having a really robust lumber industry is attractive to us because that means there's a lot of feedstock. Well, if you lay those two over, Louisiana starts to look really good. And then the third is having an existing specifically chemicals and refining industry that can interact with us. So we buy other chemicals. We also sell into the chemical industry. And so we really want this plant to be tightly integrated with the other chemicals and refining companies in the area. And so when you put all that together, Louisiana's really, really a good spot. It's great. So it's talent, it's it's sort of the heavy industrial chemicals ecosystem, and then it's the wood basket and the lumber basket. Those are the big things.
The talent pool was primarily where I was going with that, simply because there's a lot of skills that are currently in use at plants up and down the river that are they're transferable skills.
Yep, that's right. In fact, we already have people on our team, not because we knew we were going to go to Louisiana, right? But we've already been hiring people that are in Louisiana and currently live in Louisiana because of those skills, independent of the site selection. So you're dead on.
We're talking with John Bissell about the Origin Materials announcing a $750 million sustainable materials facility in Ascension Parish. Let's talk timelines, John. When can we expect to see some movement and hiring and future growth?
Yeah, so we're in the engineering and project development phase for the project right now. So we've got a little while until we break ground. That's sometime next year, and then we expect the facility to be up and running sort of middle of 2025. So that's really the timeline. So the construction jobs, starting next year through 2025, and then the full-time jobs or the long-term permanent jobs for starting in 2025, really.
We've got John Bissell with us in 2025. That's not that far away. We're just talking with Senator Cassidy about planning for 2050, so that seems like it's in the very, very near future. Had a caller call in while we got you on here asking about some of the materials that are going to be used, and I got to admit I'm not familiar with it. Have y'all considered using bagasse as well? Because as I understand it, that's pretty readily available around here as well.
Yeah, that's it's a great call out. Yeah, bagasse is really, really an interesting feedstock. It's one that we've done quite a bit of testing on, and we're quite familiar with it. I would say it is possible and even likely that we will end up using bagasse as a feedstock for that plant. The reality is that we have to be sort of a bit choosy when we're doing our initial designs to make sure that we're accounting for the volume of these feedstocks. But bagasse is a really interesting feedstock. We like it a lot, and obviously, clearly there's a lot of that down in Louisiana.
No, well, yeah. As much as we know oil and gas, we know sugar pretty well.
That's right.
Got about 2 minutes left, and John, I appreciate your time this morning. So, in the intermediate, in the meanwhile, what should we be looking for in Louisiana as Origin Materials continues to prep themselves to get ready to move in?
Yeah, I think for us, the big things are what are all the ways that we can integrate into that industrial community? So, where can we efficiently be supplying somebody else? Where can we be efficiently buying from the local area instead of doing it somewhere, far off? So a lot of that development activity is where we're going to be focused for the next year. Obviously, again, we're doing our engineering work in the background, and that, frankly, we'll talk about it a little bit more in our earnings call in a couple of days. But we're focused on the local area there too, right? So if you've got a bunch of engineering or talent density in the area, then you want to use it for everything you possibly can. And so we expect to be. But yeah, it's all the development stuff. Putting all the different pieces of the project together, figuring it out how it's going to fit into the local economy. That's how we're focused.
And the meanwhile, we're just getting ready. He is John Bissell, co-CEO of Origin Materials. Welcome to town, sir. Appreciate having you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
No, 100%. This is going to be Like we said, over 1,000 new direct and indirect jobs, 200 new direct jobs with an annual salary of more than $90,000 plus benefits. Louisiana's Economic Development Department estimates another 857 indirect jobs for the capital region as well. This is going to be a big deal and part of a turning of the tide, if you will, to where nobody's getting rid of oil and gas, but we're growing into other fields into the future. Got to take a quick break. Here comes Your Money Now. Oh, see, yeah, I know nothing about raw materials. I am a moron in that regard. So, terephthalate. This is bull. They are going to clear cut to the ground with no trees left. I hunt on timberland and have seen it firsthand, and it was done to make green plastic. Huh. So I've talked to some people. You know what? I've got people in the timber industry as well. Why don't I talk to them? The McAllisters. They were regulars around here 2 sessions ago. Actually, I ran into them at LABI's annual meeting 2 weeks ago. I will get Tony McAllister on the phone real soon. Yeah, there was a little bit of hesitance with. So if their primary source for fuel or for product is other people's waste, or other, like if they're going to, like, you know, paper mills or furniture manufacturers, whatever, and just grabbing what they throw away, I don't know how you can project for the future based off of that. I think you mean prices. Yo. Talk 107.3. Yeah. I was the one doing the interview. Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay, so I got to send you through the Baton Rouge area chamber because that's how I got this interview. His name's John Bissell. He's the CEO of Origin, yeah. But Baton Rouge area chamber reached out to me to see if I would have him on, and John called in. So I don't even have his phone number. He called me. But if you reach out through the Baton Rouge area chamber, I bet they would be thrilled to partner on something like this because, when it comes to, if you want to be sustainable, you have to not be wasting resources. If you're not wasting resources, you're eliminating waste from everywhere you can get it. But I don't know. Did you hear his answer? And thank you, by the way, for calling in because I plead ignorance on stuff like this. Absolutely. and just sitting there. Yeah. Yeah. Look, I got to hop back in the air, but yeah, reach out to the Baton Rouge area chamber because I think you might be onto something here. All right, man. Appreciate you. Thanks for calling in.
Dude's very smart.
Oh yeah.
He just started breaking down all the chemicals.
Oh yeah.
I was like,
I
you want me to word this?
I just wish we had time to dive in. I mean, the show keeps moving on. This is the problems with having like news at the top of the hour and having a clock and whatnot. Right. So, first of all, thanks to John Bissell for talking about Origin Materials, and thanks to the guy who called in. Jake, you were talking to him off air about bagasse, right?
Yeah.
So apparently, this like might be a secondary marriage with this company coming to town that could very well be worthwhile. I was talking to the guy during the last break about it. I'm curious to see where this goes.
I mean, it sounds very viable.
This is the thing we've talked about on so many different occasions when it comes to, yes, we know oil and gas inside and out, right? But the number of resources we have in Louisiana to, pardon the phrasing, outflank the green movement. We don't have to lose a dime in anything we've done, and we can do nothing but gain in every field that seems hot at the time. Any Hoosiers. Thanks to John Bissell for hopping on board. That I'm like, this whole hour has been one to just fire me up. Getting to the outside end, stepping outside of East Baton Rouge Parish in just a minute. Got to tell you about the folks over at Mathern's Market, though. Oh! So I was producing the LSU women's basketball game on Sunday, right? Which, my apologies for the technical difficulties in the first quarter, but it wasn't my fault. I swing by Mathern's Market when I'm producing LSU sports because they are literally right across the street from Tiger Stadium. Between LSU baseball and LSU women's basketball, campus was bumping, and Mathern's was bumping as well. I go in there, and, like, people grabbing stuff for their tailgate, people grabbing stuff before heading back across the street to the PMAC. Just grab and go, grab and go. I got myself a hot and sweet ham sandwich, I tell you. Or sweet and hot, excuse me. Solid. Really good. Really good. I don't often do a ham sandwich on the weekends because, you know, the diet. But just one of the many items you can just grab and go at Mathern's. Downtown on 3rd Street or Nicholson just across the street from Tiger Stadium. They are your parade headquarters. They are your king cake headquarters. And they are your full-service grocery store. Both locations of Mathern's. All right, outside in. Let's go. Nope. We're going to move fast. We're going to start off at St. John the Baptist Parish. An explosion was reported at the Marathon Petroleum Refinery on West Airline Highway in Garyville sometime after 9 a.m. yesterday. The explosion was reportedly heard from miles. Company released an updated statement shortly before noon Monday saying one plant worker, a contract worker, was being evaluated for an injury at an area hospital. That was the only injury. All other workers were accounted for. Video posted on social media outlets showed a large fire at the facility. One resident heard the explosion as far away as Laplace, which is about 5 miles away. The cause of the explosion still being investigated. In Ascension Parish, beef over a woman last year led to 6 men drawing their weapons outside their cars one early spring evening on the south side of Gonzales, according to city police. Despite alleged attempts to calm the dispute or settle it with fists, escalating words and flashing weapons led to a shootout inside a collection of one-story apartments at the Magnolia Crossing complex off Highway 44. Here's the thing, though. The way they're prosecuting this is a little bit differently. According to the advocate, each of the defendants was charged as an assailant, but also named as a victim in the same shootout. In Jefferson Parish, a man wanted for alleged molestation of 2 juveniles turned himself into investigators Monday. State police said troopers started investigating 78-year-old Elgene Gary back in October of 21. Based on interviews with victims, troopers said Gary, a Grand Isle councilman, sexually assaulted minors over the span of many years at his Grand Isle home. Gary was booked for 2 felony counts of sexual battery. More charges may be added. That is the outside in. CBS News coming your way next on Talk 107.3 FM. I'm spent.
Yeah, honestly.
That whole hour was just too good. Like, let's just go home. No, we got too much shit still to do. We got Clay Shexnayder coming up. We got Troy Carter coming up. I hope. Hey, if Troy Carter bails, we're going back to the top stories and trending. I'm so tired. I have no idea if my wife is still watching. Good morning, Christy. Oh, God. That's a great turnout.
When I talk about the Miracle on Ice, should I play the bump first?
I mean, however you want to set it up. I would set it up with, it's one of the more well-known.
Alright, I can do that.
Big day for birthdays. Ha! It's Mark Chmura's birthday. Former Packers tight end. American Chewy. No one's going to get it. He was involved in a scandal with an underage girl. About the same time that the movie American Beauty had come out. So he got the nickname American Chewy. Oh, yeah. Well, that's the Jim Rome show. Oh, snap. I'll get to it. I just realized something. It's not a big deal. No. No, nothing's wrong. Just something I didn't realize until just now. Wow. I'm just all kinds of reaction with no explanation right now, right? Yeah. No! I have not done complete collision yet. I will get to both of those. Oh, man. Dennis Johnson died today. .806 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Tuesday on 2/22 of 22. It's Tuesday on 2/22 of 22. That'll never happen again. Like literally never happen again. 2/22 Tuesday. Tuesday.
It's like it's a Star Wars movie.
It should be. That would be Pew Pew Tuesday. This is Tuesday. Tuesday. I need more sound effects in my life. No, I don't. Nobody does. Taco Tuesday?
Can't go wrong with that.
Perhaps.
Mayhaps.
See what Jada Cody's up to, perhaps?
Ooh.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah. They should have a 2/22 Tuesday thing. February 22nd, 2022. And it happens to be a Tuesday.
By two get two?
Oh no! We don't have the authority to do that.
I'm just theorizing.
We don't. I know. But I don't want somebody walking in there and saying, "The morning show said y'all were just flinging free tacos around." No.
No, that is not true. But it doesn't hurt to ask. I'm kidding. Don't.
All right, we've got Speaker Clay Shexnayder coming up in our next segment. We're going to get a recap of the redistricting session that just went down out at the state capitol. That's coming up in our next segment. I believe we're set to speak with Congressman Troy Carter for D.C. Current at 8:40. Before we get you to this day in Tuesday history, I want to remind you about the folks over at Complete Collision Center. Look, I tell you all the time about their certifications, right? More than a dozen major manufacturers have certified Complete Collision Center. And they have the ICAR Gold Class certification. Want to learn what that's all about? Go to CompleteCollision.com, CompleteCollision.com. But more than that, we got to talk for a second about what you're in control of after an accident. You're in control of where you take your car. It's your decision where to take your car. Now, your insurance company is going to give you suggestions. And your insurance company is going to very strongly suggest where to take it. But you don't have to go where they say to go. See, where they're going to send you is likely, I'm not impugning any individual insurance company, but likely where they have a deal hammered out that is beneficial to them. But no, it's called a direct repair shop. No, if you go to a direct repair shop, you're no longer the customer, they are. The insurance company becomes the customer. You need to be the customer. It's your car. It's your family's safety. And Doug and his team over at Complete Collision Center, they take that very seriously. 768-9898, 768-9898. Don't let who you choose to repair your vehicle be your second accident. Check out CompleteCollision.com. Time for This Day in History. Let's roll.
Yes, it is time for This Day in History. We're kicking things off in 1879. The
Close.
first 5-cent and 10-cent store opened by Frank W. Woolworth in New York. In parentheses,
You're not allowed to come back to the Woolworths.
It failed almost immediately, apparently.
At the 5 and dime?
Yeah.
Why'd they call it a five and dime and not a nickel and dime? Go down to 5 and dime. I guess too many syllables, maybe?
I don't know. They both kind of ring off the tongue there, though.
Oh, brother, where art thou? They get kicked out of the Woolworths. You know who was the guy that kicked him out of the Woolworths? Spud McConnell.
Oh.
New Orleans radio legend, Spud McConnell.
Very nice. 1888. Father of American golf. John Reed first demonstrates golf on a Yonkers cow pasture to friends.
I like it.
1932.
Whoa! Let's skip 1893.
What happened?
Weird that it would happen in February. But on this day in 1893 was the first Iron Bowl.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm going to go back up and look this up to double check it. But today in sports history, first Iron Bowl, Auburn beats Alabama 33-22, and Alabama's been better ever since.
And when did you say that happened?
1893.
1893. Wow.
Let me double check this. When I say it out loud, I feel like I'm being punked.
I don't know. 1893. That's quite some time. 1932.
Well, February, middle of February for football. That should be something.
For sure. You want me to get to the next one, or you?
No, go for it. I'm looking this up.
1932, the Purple Heart Badge of Military Merit Award is reinstituted.
Cool.
1935, airplanes are no longer permitted to fly over the White House.
This is accurate.
Yeah?
Today in 1893.
Huh.
Right? I mean, like, bowl season's over with. You know, they weren't in the Poulon Weed Eater Independence Bowl anymore. The Chick-fil-A Bowl.
Well, same day and same year as airplanes no longer being able to fly over the White House, The Little Colonel, premiering, starring Shirley Temple, Leno Barrymore, and Bill Robinson, features famous stair dance with Hollywood's first interracial dance couple. What?
Nothing. Keep moving before I make a joke about The Little Colonel.
1968, the rock group Genesis released their first record, Silent Sun.
Awesome.
1980. You know what happened on 1980?
Oh, I do.
Do you know? Well, this is
Cue
what
Al
happened-
Michaels.
This is what happened on 1980.
11 seconds. You've got 10 seconds. The countdown going on right now. Morrow up to Schultz. 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
Yes, the miracle on ice happened. The U.S. ice hockey team beat heavily favored Soviet Union 4-3 at Lake Placid in one of the biggest upsets in Olympic history. Americans would go on to win the gold medal.
Yep. I mean, one of the most famous calls in the history of sports.
Oh, absolutely. Do you have any more events for me? Because that's all I got, actually.
No, that's it.
Well, let's get to birthdays. First up, George Washington, born on this day in 1732. Drew Barrymore turns 47.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Irwin, may he rest in peace, an absolute legend. He was born on this day in 1962. Robert Kardashian was born on this day in 1944.
Okay.
Rajon Rondo is 36. Dr. J, Julius Erving, 72 years old. And Pelicans legend Devontae Graham is
Legend is a
27.
stretch, but I'll take it.
That's the sarcasm, right?
No. It's Rajon Rondo, also a former Pelican.
Indeed.
Former Pelican Alfred Payton, New Orleans native.
Very nice.
And Khalil Mack.
Ooh, happy birthday to all those mentioned. I didn't have any deaths to talk about, did you?
Former Boston Celtic Dennis Johnson.
Rest in peace to him. Holidays. Be Humble Day.
Okay.
National Margarita
I'm
Day.
humble.
I know
I'm the humblest.
Did you even hear
I'm
the
the
last
most
one I just
humble.
said?
National Margarita Day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, we can all get behind
It's
that.
2 Tuesday.
It is, yeah. And it's also World Thinking Day.
Okay.
That is this day in history.
We are due up for a break. When we come back, let's recap the redistricting session that just concluded. House Speaker Clay Shexnayder joins us next. Traffic puts it in, and I'm supposed to edit it, and I do a terrible job of it because I'm lazy. Yeah, I'm supposed to delete those out. I'll tell you why they're in there. That's a 3-minute break, and there's a live read attached to it. The live read reads as 1 minute, but it's 0 seconds within there. So you're going to get 60 seconds worth of promos in there. Yep. Hey, Clay. Hey, man. Appreciate you hopping on board today. So we're going to talk redistricting throughout. Does the committee for the Ronald Green thing, do y'all have a schedule yet? No. Okay. Okay. All right. Would you care if I asked about a timeline towards the end? Yeah. Okay. All right. Just so it's not ignored. I know there's no information to get from it yet, but just if y'all what the next steps are. Well, then I'll save 2 or 3 minutes on the back end so we can lay that out. So, all right, good deal. I appreciate it. Hang tight. Thank you. Tread carefully. If Russia's about to go to war, would you buy crypto right now? That sounds like an interesting question. That sounds like a question that should be a news story. With Russia going to war, and you know where they're at in the whole world of disinformation and hacking and scamming and spamming and everything else. With Russia going to war, is now the time to buy crypto? You're gonna I really feel like we should see how Russia versus Ukraine plays out before making any moves. What? Because anything that is online without a monetary base in real life is subject to being completely mined. We'll get to it. 817 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. So late last week, the redistricting session concluded. All the maps are out and available right now. It is up to the governor as to whether or not we move forward there, and whether or not they end up in court is another question altogether. Joining us now to hopefully set the table, if not answer all those questions outright, is House Speaker Clay Shexnayder. Clay, good morning. How are you, man?
Good morning, Brian. How you doing?
I'm doing very, very well this morning. I hope you are as well.
We are. A little busy getting ready for a regular session now that we got the heavy lifting out of the way with redistricting, but it's getting back on course to be a regular session.
So yes, and we'll set the table for the regular session in a little bit, but we got to start by rewinding back the clock. Was the redistricting session about what you expected? I mean, I know there's not a whole lot of folks in the state legislature get to experience more than one of them, but when folks are fighting for their own jobs, it gets a little different.
It's funny you say that. We only had 3 members on the House side that had been through redistricting before, and that was Representative Alan Seabaugh, Representative Neil Reiser, and of course the one and only Francis Thompson, who have been through many redistricting. But it was pretty much what I expected. I expected us to be in constant conversation with members and the public on things that needed to be done and the lines moving. I think you saw a really good redistricting session where members actually came together and they had conversation, and I think the vote on, especially the House bill, I think you saw the members come together and actually support a very good bill.
So it's a very good bill. Kind of depends on what your perspective was going in. If you wanted to shake the apple cart as little as possible, and continue to move Louisiana on the path that it's been moving, yes. If you were looking to for a complete upheaval and create a bunch of new districts, majority minority districts, they didn't get what they wanted in that regard. How much or how close were we to seeing that level of upheaval?
I don't think it was close at all. Okay. I think you saw I think you saw conversations about it. I think you saw different avenues being put forth. I think you even saw the Democrats put together some bills, and most of their bills had the same amount of minority districts as well. So I think you saw an even keel across the way, even though there was heavy conversation about it. But I think you saw us come together at the end and be able to put together some districts that we had some opportunity districts, and we had more minority districts that just it benefits all of us to see the big picture as we move forward. It was just something that didn't come together quite as we needed to with the numbers right off the bat.
What was the biggest hindrance to having a second majority minority district on a congressional level? What stood in the way of that happening? With 33% of the vote, you've heard the governor lay out the math. It's 33% of the vote. It should be 2 out of 6. What stopped that from happening?
Well, I think you look at across the state at the diversity that we have, and the people where people are living, and they were so spread out. It was really hard to be able to put those districts together to without looking, I guess for lack of a better word, a gerrymandered looking district. You'd have had to go and you'd have had to make some really strange lines to be able to do it. So it really didn't work. Even though you had a third that number there, it was really hard to pull it together the way we were spread out.
So this leaves the congressional map in the hands of the governor, and we already know he wanted to. So have you been given any any knowledge, any insight as to whether or not he's going to veto this or sign off on it?
I haven't. Other than his press release that he had right after session, I haven't had any conversation with him on it. And look, we looked at that as well, and it was pretty much the same thing as far as being able to try to put a district together. It was tough. It's something that I think in the future is going to be there, but right now it just wasn't quite there.
Well, it all comes down to geography. I mean, it all comes down to population distribution, no matter how you break it down. If you're 33% of any one given district, there was not going to be an equitable breakdown. And if you could say on the one hand we're violating the Voting Rights Act by not having the proper representation, any gerrymandered district would equally violate the Voting Rights Act.
Absolutely. And look, the big thing is if you look at New Orleans, New Orleans numbers have changed dramatically from minorities to the white votes that are down there. I mean, it's a different place, and it's really tough to be able to create those without having the right population and people in the right places as far as geography. So it was tough, but I can tell you that Chairman Stefanski did a great job. He must have drew I don't know how many maps to try to make it work, and it just couldn't get there without messing up the geography of everything.
The New Orleans example is one that really stood out to me. It really amazed me because New Orleans lost a ton of population in Katrina, or just after Katrina, and that meant the 2010 census, they took a big hit. They regained 40,000 people from 2010 to 2020, but 3/4 of those people were white. Like it's not what you're used to seeing on Louisiana maps with Louisiana districts, which made y'all's challenge all the more different.
It made it a tough challenge, but I can tell you, looking at it, I think we were able to put together some districts down there, actually move and relocate one that was deserving to them because of the numbers.
Yeah.
But just the geography and where people are moving and the population sprouts that we have everywhere, I can tell you it was a lot tougher on the House map than it was any of the others.
House Speaker Clay Shexnayder is our guest. Clay, what was your role throughout all this? Were you more along the lines of just kind of sit back and let Representative Stefanski and his team do their thing, or did you find a need to take a more hands-on approach from time to time?
Stefanski on the redistricting side of the House map, I was there at the road shows. I was there when we met with members one-on-one and stuff. And I gave him the reins on that, and he stepped up. He did an excellent job on that. On the congressional side, that was more my hands-on, being able to try to put that together. And I think as a team, we worked well together. Look, that committee worked well. Speaker Pro Tem McGee was also a huge asset in there. Vice Chairman DePlessis was also a huge asset. So it was a team effort. I think you've seen that over the past up here, where you see the legislature now more than ever working together to be able to get things done. And this was a good product of that.
Implementation, what are we looking at here? Because we still don't know about a veto, and we certainly don't know about lawsuits. I mean, is there any doubt that this is going to end up in the courts no matter how it plays out?
Well, I think we've already had lawsuits filed before we even got into it and even put the first map out. So definitely there will be some of that. We'll just have to wait and see what the governor's going to do. I haven't heard a huge conversation, but you look at the vote on the House map where you had 82 votes on it, Republicans and Democrats. And I can tell you, looking back in history at redistricting, that's the highest vote that a redistricting map has ever got out of the House.
Which would mean it's kind of veto-proof?
I would, if I was the governor, that's what I would look at and say, this is pretty much a map that's untouchable. That I believe that the House themselves have come together and put it together as a group, and I might want to leave this one alone.
How much of that coming together as a group is handled like in committee and on the House floor, and how much of that is handled through conversations and meetings that happen before that?
I think it's, I think it's 50-50. I think we do a great job at being able to sit down around the table and be able to have our conversations on what we need and where we need to do it. And then I think the rest of it, we go to the floor and we also have those conversations and those debates on what we need. But I think for the most part, it's just about having conversation and not really trying to surprise anybody. I mean, I think we all want the same thing when it comes to it. We want a district that's fair, and we want to be able to represent the people that we have. And I think these legislators did a great job. All of them come together. It wasn't flawless by no means, but it was a work that we were able to complete 2 days early. So I think that says a lot for how much we've come together to be able to pull these maps together and have them represent the state of Louisiana.
Well, I ask because it's always an interesting balance between the assumption that state legislators, if they're not physically on the floor, they're not working, which you are, and then you have to juxtapose that with Barry Ivy's comments, which I'm working to get him on the show to revise and extend those remarks. So it's a weird balance that you're kind of always on the clock.
You are, and for the normal everyday person out in the world out there that sees us, they think that we come and we sit on that floor, and that's pretty much all we do. When that's not the case at all. We're constantly on the phones with each other. We're constantly in committee rooms and meeting rooms with people and having conversations. It's a round the clock job, whether it's redistricting or whether it's regular session. So it's a full-time job getting those things done.
So regular session, I believe March 14th, Monday, March 14th will be the opening of that. Before that, though, you're putting together a special committee that is probably going to cast a shadow over that session as well. Can I get you to lay out a little bit of a timeline of what we could talk about for this? You got a special committee coming up to look at the Ronald Greene investigation and the governor and the governor's team's involvement in that. Where are we in that process, and what can we expect in the near future?
Well, right now we're in the information gathering phase, and you'll see us in the next couple of weeks put together a committee hearing that'll be more of an informational type hearing. We'll come in and the committee will discuss the avenues that they need to take and the witnesses that need to be called in. And then after that, during session sometime, we'll set up a committee hearing to be able to get everybody in there and ask questions and see where we go from there. You know, it's about finding out the truth, and I think that we have a lot of gray area out there right now that's just unanswered that we, you know, out of respect for Ronald Green's family and out of respect for the state of Louisiana and the people here, we just need to find out the truth.
We got less than 3 weeks to go till the regular session. Not much of a break in the middle of that. So I'm going to let you get back to a little bit of real life for a little while. He is House Speaker Clay Shexnayder. We always appreciate the time, sir. Thank you for hopping on board.
Brian, I appreciate you. And look, anything that we can do to help y'all, please let us know, and y'all stay safe.
Just keep those lines of communication open as you always do, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate
Absolutely.
you.
Yes, sir. Coming up on 8:31 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Yeah, Clay has done a fantastic job. He responds to phone calls. He hops on the hotline all the time. It's it is an open line of communication directly into the state capitol, and I greatly appreciate it. All right, we got a break, and yes, I am efforting Barry Ivy. That is going to happen later on this week. Got a break. When we come back, I'm told that Congressman Troy Carter is not available, so top stories and trending are next. Oh, shit. I'm short by a couple live reads, right? What am I missing?
You did complete collision. We have Go Slim.
Go Slim. It'll be next.
That appears to be it.
Okay. Oh, there he is. Wow. That looks like Congressman Carter. What does his name tag say? Oh, Columbia Sportswear. Never mind. It's not a name tag. All right. Top stories and trending. It's probably a good thing we don't have the congressman today because there's just too much content.
Do you want me to immediately leave with the top stories and trending block or no?
No. Let me knock out my Go Slim live. Oh. All right, y'all. 9:04 tomorrow. 9:04 tomorrow. You might recall the album He's the Rapper, I'm the DJ. I've got the DJ. There's your tease. Boom. That's the tease. Lazy. Careful, Barry will get you. What? What? Good morning, Scott. Welcome in, buddy. Good to see you there. I'm just now hopping back at YouTube. So yeah, let's get Barry on. Let's get you and Barry on. How about that? How about that? All right, 837, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. It's important to actually read press releases when you get them. That way you would know that rather than just printing the press releases and having them ready to go and I had all kinds of questions for Congressman Troy Carter about his visit with the SBA Administrator, Isabel Guzman, and his visit to Africa as well. Congressman Carter joins congressional delegation to Africa. I said, fantastic. We're going to have plenty to talk about then. Except that he's still there. So no DC Current today. The congressman currently in Sierra Leone. Oops. We normally hit our forecast at this time, and let's do that now. We are looking at a 50-50, no, more than that. Just 20% chance of rain today and tomorrow. Thursday, we have a 70% chance of rain, which scales back to a 50-50 chance of rain on Friday. Now, your highs today, tomorrow, and Thursday are going to be in the 80s. That rain is resetting the cold air. This is going to be that same cycle we've been seeing where it gets real cold and it warms up. However, it's going to be a little bit less cold this time around. High today, 82. Tomorrow, 82. Thursday, 85. Friday, high, 61. With an overnight low of 51 in a Saturday morning. Basically, anytime they play baseball at the box, it's just going to get cold again. That's what we're looking at here. Overnight low on Saturday night, 49, 40 all the way down Sunday night into Monday, and then we're back in the 30s overnight Monday into Tuesday. So it is a resetting of the cold. It's going to be a little bit slow over a play to get here, but that's what we're looking at for the rest of this week. Right now we're at 74 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. All right. We normally start off the 7 o'clock hour by checking in with top stories and trending, but Senator Bill Cassidy was available in studio, no less, not passing that up. So let's do this now. Let's go ahead and hit top stories and trending. Yeah. Really weird. Now? Oh, Oh, since announcing the now $1.2 billion project on I-10 back in 2018, progress on widening 10 from 415 to the 1012 split will be visible soon. Quote, I would suspect you'll see shovels in the ground in the next month and a half, said Secretary Sean Wilson. He was at the Baton Rouge Press Club yesterday. The first step of the 5-phase project, relocating underground utilities, will take about a year. Actual construction won't start until next year. Earlier this month, DOTD announced it was extending the widening to include the Acadian Thruway interchange. That will lead to numerous delays as part of inevitable growing pains. To ease the 14-month period where lanes will be restricted, Wilson says he plans to work with big delivery companies like Amazon to adjust their schedules and work on signal timings on alternate routes that will be provided when we get closer to the project, basically lessening the volume on the interstate while the interstate is going to be worked on. 2 more teenagers managed to escape a secure juvenile prison days ago as the Office of Juvenile Justice has refused to do interviews about what's been going on. Chris Nakamoto is all over this story. You also look for more on this in the coming days. Monday, an OJJ spokeswoman said the secretary of OJJ, Bill Summers, would sit down with WBRZ this coming Friday. Last month, 2 juveniles escaped from the Acadiana Center for Youth in St. Martinville. Demarion Simmons and Brendan Hebert caused a massive search after breaking out of the facility. When Hebert was caught, he was rebooked into the facility with a loaded weapon that was missed by the arresting agency and the jail guards. Days ago, 2 more juveniles escaped from the Acadiana Center for the Youth. Sheriff Beckett Bro told WBRZ Monday he's at his wits' end with the whole situation. This has been a growing problem, y'all. Our news partners at WBRZ, Nakamoto specifically, has been reporting on in this story for some time. In 2020, there were 8 different incidents. In 2021, that number more than doubled to 19. Checking in with the folks over at the Advocate amid ongoing court battles over oil and gas leases with Republican state attorneys general, including Louisiana's own Jeff Landry. The Biden administration is once again pausing the leases as it appeals a judge's ruling that higher federal estimates for cost of greenhouse gas emissions were too burdensome for energy-producing states. In a court filing Friday, the Department of Justice appealed a February 11th ruling by Federal District Judge James David Kane of Lake Charles that said the administration's action to raise the cost estimate of carbon emissions would unfairly increase regulatory expenses for states like Louisiana. The cost estimate, also known as the social cost of carbon, outlines the economic costs of emitting 1 additional ton of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. In a statement Monday, Louisiana's Oil and Gas Association President Mike Moncla defended Kane's ruling, saying it shows federal policy can help reduce emissions without taking an axe to our oil and gas industry. Let's pause on that and come back to it after we're done with Top Stories and Trending. A man with a history of domestic violence arrests is accused of shooting a woman multiple times after he allegedly beat her and stole her truck. 39-year-old Keandre Washington was arrested Sunday on a slew of charges related to the January 30th attack. Arrest records said the victim was at Washington's home when he accused her of having an affair and lashed out. The victim said Washington punched her multiple times before she fled in her truck. Sometime later, Washington asked the woman to come back so he can get his work clothes out of her vehicle. When she returned, Washington attacked again, allegedly striking her several times with a metal rod. Police said Washington then jumped in the woman's truck and took off as the victim got in to stop him. An altercation ensued within that vehicle. She was able to eventually get away. Washington was booked on charges of attempted second-degree murder, illegal use of a weapon, domestic abuse battery, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, theft of a motor vehicle, and aggravated battery. A police report noted that Washington has an extensive criminal history, including multiple pending domestic abuse cases. Man suspected of organizing a criminal operation that targeted catalytic converters throughout the capital area was booked on additional charges yesterday. Newly released arrest documents revealed Matthew Gibson, who was arrested earlier this month when police found more than 100 stolen catalytic converters at his home, had a network of thieves who were stealing the parts from parked cars around the area throughout last year. According to the documents, Gibson was first implicated back in October after one of his suspected associates, Gregory Smith, was pulled over in a truck with a switched license plate. Police said Gibson pulled up during the stop, claiming the truck belonged to him and that Smith was a friend. Inside that vehicle, police later found a battery-powered saw used to steal the converters and about 3 dozen new saw blades. Both Smith and Gibson were taken in for questioning, during which Gibson admitted that he regularly bought converters off Smith, but claimed the parts he bought and sold were all legally acquired. Gibson was booked Monday on additional charges of theft and drug possession, as well as his previous charges. Those are a look at your top stories. Here's a look at what's trending this morning. The FDA has issued a recall for Similac, Alimentum, and Elecare powdered infant formulas after 4 complaints of infants getting sick. In the advisory, the FDA says the formulas that caused illness were linked to Abbott Nutrition's facilities in Sturgis, Michigan. The FDA said the infants were hospitalized. 3 of them contracted Chronobacter. 1 contracted Salmonella and Chronobacter. Many have contributed that they may have contributed to an infant's death. The Louisiana Department of Health, following along with this recall, says customers should return the formula to the vendor. Consumers may return recalled formula to the store where it was purchased. Return the formula to Abbott. Consumers may follow directions from Abbott provided via SimilacRecall.com or call 800-956-8540. 800-956-8540 for information on returning recalled formula, or you can bring the product back to your local WIC clinic. Your local WIC clinic. Those are your top stories in trending. We're going to get back around to the pause on the oil and gas leases in just a minute. But first, got to remind you about the folks over at Go Slim Nutrition. GEAUX. SlimBR.com is the website. Y'all know I roll with Go Slim, and you know why. It's so much more than just a diet. It is an overall nutritional program. It's not just a weight loss program. It's about making healthier choices throughout your life. I teamed up with Go Slim Nutrition, and I've lost more than 60 pounds on my journey, most of that attributed to Go Slim. Yeah, I hit the gym as well, but I'll tell you what, I'm hitting the gym a lot more regularly because every Friday I'm able to sit down at Go Slim and go over my next week. What's next week looking like for you? Well, I got a banquet out in Ascension on Tuesday night. I got my Rotary Club meeting on Wednesday. Oh, what else you got going on? I got this, and that on the calendar. How are you going to get to the gym? Well, let's start to look at times. Let's start to look at availability. We're able to break down the next week every single week. We're able to look back on the week that was in a little thing I like to call food confession. Then we go step on the scale for that moment of truth. Look, you can get diet food just about anywhere. It's a protein-based diet. No real break into the bank on that end. But it's the accountability. Except that it's really good food. It's the accountability. It's the check-ins. It's the teamwork. Go Slim Nutrition, 763-9600, 763-9600. We're, what, a week away from Lent starting? Which means the countdown is on to the beginning of summertime. Which means if you want to drop a few pounds before putting on a bathing suit, now's the time to do it. Now is the time to do it. They're on Bluebonnet and Perkins. GoSlimBR.com, 763-9600 for the folks at Go Slim. So, Jeff Landry and about a dozen other attorneys general from around the country currently at odds with the administration over oil and gas leases. We dove into this a good bit in our first segment of the second hour, when Senator Bill Cassidy hopped on board. And we were talking energy policy with the senator, who, by the way, phenomenal with his time. Love when I get him in studio because he kind of gets in his zone. Over the phone, he's always great information and great access, but in person, I can kind of read off of where he's at to know where to probe deeper. Anyway, why is there still a suspension of oil and gas leases right now? For the life of me, I can't understand this. When you look at the global geopolitical climate, now is the time to bring things in-house. As opposed to what? Leaving things open to Russia? And I only bring that up to ask it in this regard. And I don't have an answer to the question, just the question. Are we going to be used as a bargaining chip to give Russia more? To get them to not invade Ukraine? More of a carrot on the stick situation? I don't know. Here comes your money now. Shares of DraftKings up 3%. They added New York, they added Louisiana, they added a few other states, and they only went up 3%. Can you grab cuts 4, 5, and 6 from LRN? Yep. Cool, thank you. Ooh, snap. That's a page full of notes I'm going to throw it away before anyone sees them. I don't like this commercial, and I'll tell you why. Aside from the fact that they're trying to do a silly play-by-play shtick over buying cigarettes, she's at the counter of a convenience store. Toes the rubber would have a completely different meaning right there. If you're a pitcher on the pitcher's mound and you toe the rubber, that's one thing. If you're at a place where they sell rubbers, it's something else altogether. You never heard him do hunts before? Oh. I didn't see Kevin in here this morning. Ran into Kevin at the grocery store yesterday. Yeah, I was at the I dropped my daughter off with her basketball trainer, and I was over by Bocage. So I stopped in at Calvin's Bocage Market. My son needed to bring some watermelon to school today. Calvin's, they only had it like this tiny ass containers. Like, here's a piece of watermelon. Oh, awesome! Yeah. That doesn't get the job done. Plus, I wanted some jalapenos because I was making quesadillas last night. So, as I'm in the aisle with the jalapenos, or as it's described in Calvin's ethnic foods.
Who describes that?
Ethnic foods, Calvin's Bocage Market.
Ay, Dios mío.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Ethnic foods?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
See, it's not like wrong, but
it's not.
It feels wrong.
It spans all of it though, because it's definitely an older supermarket. It's an older grocery store to be sure. But
it just sounds dirty.
Well, yeah. But it's like if you got to pile everything from soy sauce to sriracha to jalapenos to ragu all in the same aisle, what are you going to call it?
Could just call it foreign.
Does that make it better?
ethnic revolves around race, if I'm not mistaken.
It
Forward
revolves
is
around
country.
ethnicities.
Okay.
Which, yeah.
That's fair.
So anyway, they had my jalapenos, but not the watermelon. So I ended up going to a different store. But I ran into Kevin.
Oh.
It was Kevin O'Neill. We see him posting in the YouTubes all the time.
Very
I don't know
nice.
this morning though.
You should have had your son bring just a bunch of jalapenos instead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would have been just spice up the
Well,
day.
he had to bring Louisiana foods. So.
Watermelon?
Watermelons are growing all over Louisiana.
Huh.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Anyone bring a whole crawfish boil or something?
I think somebody got etouffee.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm not putting those little samples together. We got 3 friggin' kids. Here's a chunked up watermelon. And go. I don't have. Who's got that kind of time? Oh. 8:56. Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. I'm exhausted. Oh, what a whirlwind of a show. Thanks to CBS's Pamela Falk for talking Russia and Ukraine. Thanks to Angela Decoteau from Live to Lead, which is coming up Thursday. Go to our Facebook page if you want more information. Thanks to, and this was the stretch that was really killer. 7 o'clock hour, Senator Bill Cassidy, John Bissell, CEO of Origin Materials, and John Deloney, not in that order, from Dave Ramsey's team. All filing through in the 7 o'clock hour. And then, of course, this hour we had House Speaker Clay Shexnayder on board. Been a busy show, and I appreciate everybody for stopping by. Before we get out of here, I want to revisit that story that we were talking about in our top stories and trending about the major project. And you've heard about this in our news segments this morning. It's the major project to widen I-10 through Baton Rouge. There are going to be more lane closures and congestion, which it's already a pretty congested stretch of highway. Secretary Sean Wilson was at the press club yesterday. He says work will begin soon on phase one of the 5-phase project. And when fully underway, motorists are going to have to endure long periods of lane closure through the construction zone. Sadly, it just can't be avoided.
That is the impact of saving time and money and providing certainty to citizens, where you will have 2 lanes in each direction for about 14 months.
So what do? We are so dependent on the interstate here in Baton Rouge. I've never understood it. From the moment I moved to Baton Rouge, I've never understood our dependence on the interstate. Our inability to take surface streets on a regular basis. And it didn't take me long to get adapted and acclimated and become one of those ones that's dependent on the interstate. I mean, I dug my heels in for a little while. Nah, I'm not getting up on the interstate. I'm not going that far. But eventually you do. Wilson says the plan is to eventually have 4 lanes in both directions, east and west, from Highway 415 to the 1012 split. He says the overall plan is to make things as aggravation-free for commuters as possible, both on the interstate and on the alternate routes.
We're going to provide temporary striping and signage improvements throughout the corridor. We're going to provide signal timing on alternate routes, because we know that there's only certain routes that can be taken advantage of, and the different times that those routes will be taken advantage of.
What's the trickle-down effect here, though? Like, are we just expecting more congestion on Florida Boulevard? Or is there a secondary trickle-down route? That's the question. Like, if you already normally take Florida to get from, like, let's say, Denham to downtown, right? Wait till Amazon's open. If you already take Florida, are you thinking about, I'll go up to Grainwell Springs? Does that enter the equation? Meanwhile, Wilson says advanced planning work on widening 10 through Baton Rouge is going to begin soon. Relocating the underground infrastructure. You won't see the heavy construction work until 2024. Now, the project is scheduled to be completed by 2027. In the meantime, DOTD is advancing plans to offer commuters in Ascension Parish the option of a commuter train with park and ride, which we've talked about that ad nauseum. Let's get out of here. Fox News Rundown's next. Yeah. Oh, well. All right, guys. Jazzy Jeff tomorrow. Franz Borghardt tomorrow. Congressman Graves tomorrow. Working on State Representative Barry Ivy and Scott McKay. Not Scott McKay, Jesus. Scott McKnight. Sorry, I was actually physically looking at Facebook just now, and McKay from the Hayride, his post popped up. So, anyway, Scott McKnight, Barry Ivy, hopefully tomorrow. If not, we'll have them Thursday. I'm not seeing what else is on the rundown, so we'll see all that. Jazzy Jeff, I know. I keep pulling out this randomness, and I love it. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Later!